video game draft.
What?
I'm
Did you
Eric
say
Allen,
DS?
DS. It's a Freudian slip. Whatever. It's pretty good. I'm Eric Allen. I'm here with Joe Drilling,
What's up? What's up? What's
Kurt
up?
Adam,
What's down? What's down? What's
Mike
down?
Ailes,
This is gonna be double sick.
and my special guest slash fill-in slash cool ass partner, Anthony Rogers.
I hate that Mike stole my joke because I was going to say I'm double stoked.
You can be double stoked.
We all should have come up with different,
be
as
double
publishers
stuffed.
and developers did in that time. We all should have
With
come
different
up with
You know,
DS.
Joe,
things
two
to
of us
say
did do that.
Yeah.
You
For
should say, I'm darn stoked.
Yes.
Are you guys ready for some dope stuff?
Damn
Darn
straight.
stupid.
Drafting some draft substances. Anyway, so yeah, we've
We
done a
are
bunch of these
dubiously
drafts,
starting,
but
man.
oh boy, nice, well done, Kurt. We've done a bunch of these at this point, but if you don't know, then basically what we do is a snake-style draft
If you
where
don't
we
surmise,
where we pick the best games for the system, and that's it.
difficult
It's
to
real
suss.
fun, and you'll get to see some cool pictures of DS games. And I don't know if there's much more to the rules than that. It's like halfway between a best of list and a like pick your five
Desert
games
Island.
for
Game
the
show.
desert island type thing.
But just enough rules to fuck up both of those.
Yeah.
up.
So snake style
Yep.
draft. First person picks first, second, third, fourth, and then fourth goes twice, and then back around until we do a top 25 or top 20. Sorry, and then if there's time at the end, we'll do an awesome quick ass bonus lightning round.
Woo! Lightning round.
Yeah. All right. So
all right, Eric, you have the remainder of the stream to think of a good DS
for the lightning round,
version of Lightning Round. Yeah.
okay, I'll work on that.
Good. All right, that's
Welcome
your
to the
run.
draft show.
All right, so here we go. Oh no, I
start.
have everything as backwards now because Mike kept changing the.
You're the one who
You're going
complained.
first, Eric. You're going.
Who goes first? Me, then me and Anthony, and then Kurt, and then
me.
Mike, and then Joe.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, Anthony.
Yar.
All right.
Do you have?
Um,
I know what game I would want to pick first. We didn't confer first, so also we have
did
4
not,
minutes
so we'll do
to
it-
pick, and also to talk about the game in question before the next team
okay,
gets to
so
go.
I think we should go for Elite Beat Agents.
I already typed in Ghost Trick, so the first pick is Ghost Trick.
All right, well,
That's always,
that's totally fine too,
Okay.
because that was like those two are number 1 and number 2 on
Okay,
my list.
as long as that's acceptable to you, I would like to make
That is
Ghost
an
Trick.
acceptable choice.
I would like to make Ghost
And thus
Trick.
begins another draft of Eric starting by picking the canonical best game of the system.
Yeah, it
Correct.
just makes
Well, no,
it makes
he
sense,
actually
right?
overruled me to pick the second best one,
Okay,
but that's fine.
fair.
I will note that before we started, Eric and I both decided that one, there needs to be a sequel to Ghost Trick
Yeah.
that hasn't been done, and there needs to be
Yep.
one. And two, that it would be all missile all the time.
Yeah, I could get behind both of those things.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
That was
yeah,
definitely on my list.
Ghost Trick. Ghost Trick is super great. That is number 1 for me as well. So if you didn't pick it, I was going to pick it.
So what is Ghost Trick?
As probably was for me.
Ghost Trick
Well,
is a video game where you play as a ghost. It's just a
It's an adventure.
it's an adventure
point-and-clicky kind of
puzzle
thing.
game that it just is like a many Nintendo DS games is a conceit for a game that is built around using a stylus to play a video game, and basically you are a little ghost and you can inhabit some arbitrarily selected inanimate objects in the game world. And sometimes you can interact with them to make them do stuff, and then when you do stuff with the items that you inhabit, then it affects what's happening in little scenes that play out. And you can also travel forward and backward in time to sort of get the
Yeah,
outcome
I mean,
that
I
you
think
want. But
your
it's
goal is to prevent your own death.
right, or to figure out
but
you
that's the
you
goal
start
of
the
the
game not
game.
knowing who you are or how you died, and your goal is to
You're
figure those
trying
things
to solve a
out.
mystery / puzzle.
Right.
It's sort of like a combination of Haunting starring Poltergeist for the Genesis
Yep, that classic. Yep.
and the Incredible Machine games, right? Like it's sort of
Yeah.
like you have to kind of make a Rube Goldberg machine with your ghost powers in each
Pretty
screen,
much.
in each stage, and
Right.
do
also,
a
there's
specific
an
thing.
adventure- There's dialogue in there too.
It has a great
Right.
story also. Has an amazing
It does.
dog.
It has a really
One of
good
the
story.
all-time great video game dogs, Missile.
Yep.
Mhm.
I feel like we have to shout that
It's got
out.
wonderful animations.
Yeah, beautiful.
It
It's one of
does.
the. It is probably the best looking Nintendo DS game. I think that the rotoscoped animation in
One
this
of them,
game
yeah.
is really incredible on all counts.
It's
Just that
designed
one
by
dance
Shu
Spectre
Takumi.
does.
Mm-hmm. Great music.
Uh-huh.
Great. Pretty much
I
everything.
just don't know anybody who doesn't love this game.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who haven't
it's
played it
really good.
because I feel like it kind of went under the radar a little bit. But
Yeah, I think so too.
It
did
came out
actually-
on phones.
We did actually
did come
beat
out
the
of
drum on it during the podcast when it originally came out. So
Yeah, we did. We definitely.
We did our part.
This
we
was
did our
this was Shu Takumi's follow up to Ace Attorney. This was like the other direction he went in after he made the first three.
I
Ace
want another ghost trick.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
sad that this one
Same.
never got a follow up.
I will note, as I did back in the time that we talked about it, that there is a scene. Speaking of great animation and art and so on, there is a scene of someone eating chicken that just made me laugh, just repeatedly for how much gusto this person put into eating some chicken. It
That's
was
some good
just
chicken.
amazing.
I actually totally forgot about that until you just mentioned that. But yeah,
Yeah, same.
I mean, we're gonna see this guy shoot this guitar in a second, and just the animation of the guitar flipping and falling over and then rolling away is really incredible. The whole game is like that. Everything
Yep.
works like that. It's just like this really tight little package. I really like the story. I feel like maybe the final twist is maybe a little bit too cute
It was awesome.
or whatever.
Twee.
But the final
On the
puzzle
nose.
sequence is fucking incredible. Where you're in the submachine, that's underwater sub, and
It's sinking. And
it's
Yep.
really incredible. Anyway, that's our time. So it's time for Kurt to make the second pick.
tricks.
It's time
Ghost
for me.
Trick's great.
Well, I'm gonna make Anthony happy
Yep.
or sad, but because I'm gonna pick Elite Beat Agents
Yeah, well.
because that game is great.
EBA.
so
That's right.
my question to you before you talk a lot about it is: do you prefer the American or the Japanese version? Because there's a divide. For
There is
fans.
a divide. I played Elite.
I would actually say that those other two games are fair game for this draft because they are separate games,
They are separate
like
games.
completely.
And I will say that I played
Except
Elite
they're
Beat Agents
imports,
first.
so they're not really game for this draft.
Oh, I see.
You
This
have
extra.
typically not.
This is- This is Eric trying to keep people from going off the board so that he doesn't have
Right.
to say, "Oh, I didn't capture any footage," because
Start
No.
capturing some
No
footage
one
for it
said
now,
Owen
Eric. You still have
Don.
time.
I mean,
Um,
we have traditionally not included imports unless
Usually in the
until, like,
lightning.
I mean, I
if you
don't-
want
I
to
don't-
throw
or
those in the
whatever,
lightning
yeah.
round, or we've done like a specific extra lightning round for imports or whatever.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
want to get
Yeah.
it. I don't want to eat up Kurt's time
No.
with rules because this game is
Right.
awesome.
because this game
Right,
rules.
yeah.
yeah. I mean, I don't have a
So
ton to
Kurt,
say
answer
about
the
it.
question.
I will note that
Which one's the best?
I like Elite Beat Agents the most.
I do too.
But
I
but
think I
think
also
that
do.
might be because I played it first.
But
See,
Owen
I
Don
actually-
2 is
I-
really good.
I played Owen Don 1 first, and it was the only game I knew that like people that typically don't import games, like myself,
Right.
imported in a fair number. But this one has the thing where when you fail the song, you can skip to when you start playing, because some of the songs have really
Oh.
long intros.
Right.
And
right.
the first Owen Don did not have that.
That's
But I
true.
think that game probably has the best songs to play. But this one is also like, hey, look at America's stereotypes through a weird Japanese filter, and it's awesome.
Right. That's,
so
that's What I
beautiful.
was gonna say. It's weirdly.
Also, but you
Uh,
can't look at the
weirdly Japanese,
awesome
it's a-
videos playing
it's a-
because they're on the top screen and you're playing a Contra
Right.
Right.
And you're focused on the bottom of the game. Yeah. So
Especially on
for
hard
those-
difficulties.
For
where it
those
gets
that
real
don't
rough.
know, this is a rhythm action game, in which they're playing super catchy songs and you're tapping along in various ways, or as most people complained about when I first heard about this was, I have destroyed my DS screen because of the
Oh, God, the
spinners.
fucking spinners.
Hope you bought a screen protector.
That's right.
Bias.
Yeah.
I think
Rest in
someone
peace,
I know
Anthony's
said,
first DS.
yeah, I think someone I know said they bought a screensaver and they wrecked the screensaver, and then they
Yep.
peeled it off and put a new one on.
That's what they're for.
Yep, that's what they're for.
I'll say
Um,
the other weird thing about this game is that since it first came out, I've since had a daughter, and they went back in time and actually removed a level from the game so that I never have to think about it now.
What?
Mike gets it.
Funny. Yeah, I totally know what you mean. How when
So
you go back
all
and
three
play.
of these games have one song that's slow in the middle of the pack that's like devastating to people from like a story perspective because
Right.
they're like yeah, it's weird. It's all like goofy. You fight monsters or help people. Like you help a dog travel cross country to find it, and then there's like one sad song that like in all three games they're like devastating.
I
do
can't
not
even
remember
talk
that
about
at
it.
all.
It's ridiculous how much it just gets me.
Yep. So yeah, it's weird that they just removed it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's fine.
did they?
Uh-huh.
They did.
That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
But anyway, yeah, I'm totally on board. Generally, oh, there's a spinner right there. I'm totally on board for any kind of rhythm action kind of thing. So, this and Guitar Man and all these kinds of things are totally.
Was
in
there a Rhythm Heaven?
There was a rhythm.
There
Heaven.
was a rhythm,
There
yeah.
For DS?
But it's considered to be one of the less good ones.
Yeah, it's not good. Don't pick it.
Uh-huh.
Did it
Yeah,
come
no,
out
I
in
mean,
Hil-
like Mike's question to me earlier before we started recording, like this game more than any other DS game, I just pull out and play sometimes.
Nice.
And whenever I own all three of them, and I always pick this one.
I will note as I started to say, and then we started talking about stuff. I had intended to go back and sort of refresh my memory on some of these, and I just never got around to it. So I'm doing all of this from like years long memories. So part of why I don't remember, like, oh yeah, there's a sad song. It's that I haven't played it since it came out. So
Yeah.
but I should. Like watching this makes me want to play it. So
It's good.
Mhm. Yep, I was thinking the same
I'm
thing.
gonna go do that. All right, I'm done.
Okay, Mike, you're up.
Yeah, oh man, I was really hoping that I could snag Ghost Trick, but since I can't do that, let's go with the next best thing and take Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney.
Objection.
Ah, good one.
Nice. There you go.
Well, your objection doesn't stand on this game console, which is not the original home of Phoenix Wright, but I don't care because no one in North America played these games on the Game Boy Advance.
I didn't even
Yeah,
realize
so-
they were on the Game Boy Advance.
They were all the first three are Game Boy Advance
Okay.
games.
I got it.
Mhm. Yeah, so amazingly colorful characters in this other game series by the same guy who did Ghost Trick, Shu Takumi. And yeah, they're just visual novel puzzle games basically where you snoop around and get clues and then go to court and try to use those clues to pry apart witness testimony. But I think what makes the games really fun is just the cast of characters and seeing the way that they react to everything that happens in the courtroom. There's a lot of goofy melodrama that happens and a lot of witnesses on the stand who
That's what I was gonna say. It's very melodramatic.
yeah, like every time anything bad happens
Way
to
over the
Phoenix,
top melodramatic.
he's like sweating and the judge is about to throw him out on his ass and every prosecutor that you have to face is just like preening fop or this absolute utter monster
Literally
of a man.
whipping you,
Or, well, except
spitting coffee all
first one-
over everyone.
The first one is a moron, right?
Yes,
Winston Payne.
Winston Payne.
Winston Payne.
Also,
Because
saying it
also
out
the
loud.
people that
Excellent
translated
game.
these games had a very deep appreciation for puns, and so it's just
Yes.
like an arrow right in my heart, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, the first game in the series is probably still my favorite because I think that the arc that's contained in the first couple of cases is the one that I just like the most. All about Edgeworth and his
I
past.
completely agree.
Also, the bonus case is really good in the first.
I completely disagree. I hated
I-
that case.
I'm with Mike 100% on all of these comments.
I thought it was terrible. I thought the clues were really badly written, and all these. I mean, it was designed as a case to kind of bridge
It's the
to
Blue
was it the
Badger.
fourth game.
Well, it wasn't just to bridge to it. It also took advantage. Like it added all these DS features that the rest of the game didn't have, right? So there was like a thing where you sprayed luminol to find blood stains, and you could fingerprint and dusting for prints and stuff.
Also,
which
I really
it's kinda
enjoyed
gimmicky,
bringing
but,
down
like,
the
terrible.
guy. It's such
Yeah,
an
the
asshole.
guy
I mean,
is-
yeah,
yeah, such
Gant
an
was a
asshole.
really good villain, but I hated the clues in that sequence, and just like messing around all the stuff in 3D was such a pain in the ass.
Okay, but is it better or worse than the
Um,
circus case in the second one?
Nothing is worse than the circus case in the second game.
The circus case in the second one is the worst video game of all time.
I don't know.
Can you
I don't
can
know
you
if I'd go that far,
imagine
but-
imagine if all the Phoenix Wright cases were like the circus case in the second one? How bad this series would be.
Well, we wouldn't be talking
No,
about
yeah,
it.
definitely not.
Yeah, there's some missteps in the Phoenix Wright history and some shitty treatment of people and mostly some of the later games, but this
Yeah, the
first
most
one
recent
certainly
one.
really impressed
Sure.
me when it came out,
The writing
and
is
I
really
love
good.
these characters.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, great translation, great music.
You can shout objection into your DS
Very bad
if
judge.
you want.
That guy should not be a
Also,
judge.
I seem to remember they like had different music in the first one than all the rest. Like a lot of the courtroom music.
I think
was-
it's the same music, but I think that the first one doesn't make the transition to the DS quite as well, and
Okay, is that what it
like
is?
the music in the first one sounds more like the GBA music, which means it sounds kind of like ass.
Maybe they didn't remaster it at that point.
It's the same songs throughout all of them.
There's a really great album of fully orchestrated versions of Phoenix Wright music that came out in Japan that is really enjoyable, that I still listen to from time to time. It's called Gyakuten Saiban, which is the Japanese title. Gyakuten Saiban meets orchestra, and it is a very good album.
Well, rather than tell us about a good album, Joe, why don't you tell us about a good DS game?
Oh man,
Don't stall.
No, I won't. I will not stall. I am going to choose Retro Game Challenge.
Ah, man after my own heart.
Nice.
Stop it.
Sorry. Not sorry. Retro Game Challenge is
a good way to have a nap.
Damn.
Can someone mute Anthony for the rest of the next 4 minutes?
No, I'm just kidding.
Retro Game Challenge was originally a game based on the Game Center CX TV show in Japan, if you're unaware. And the Xseed localized it and just turned it into something totally different. And I think the thing that I really liked about it is, aside from the fact that it is a minigame collection that is actually like pretty much all of the games are fun. I think the racing game is probably the weakest.
Yeah, but it's still pretty.
I don't even
decent for
remember
what
the
it is.
racing game.
But it's still a pretty decent game.
You know, I mean, part of the conceit is the, the system that it's supposed to be on is not super advanced, so that's it feels like a racing game from that kind of system.
Yeah, it's a compilation of NES games that never existed, and it actually goes from the very, very basic. The first game you play is basically Galaga, so what would be a very early NES arcade port, and the final two games you play are essentially like a kind of Mega Man Ninja Gaiden mashup and a Dragon Quest. Yeah. Boy, this emulator is not handling those polygons very well.
It's one of the only things. It's one of the only things in that emulator that it didn't handle well for some reason, and it's just the 3D models in this game. Like everything else is totally fine and looks great, but I don't know what was up with that. But
is it just this game?
Pretty much. Yep.
You play as a kid. You're supposed to be time warped back to the 80s and early 90s.
Invisible head.
The whole thing is invisible head. So you're pulling game cartridges off a shelf, and you actually have to put them in the system. And I think there's a mechanic where you can blow in them if they don't start right away. That happens like once in a blue moon.
Like blowing the microphone in the DS.
Yeah, blowing the microphone. I believe that's the thing that happens.
That rings
a
bell.
Hey, thanks DS game developers for coming up with that idea. Thanks, really appreciate it.
Objection.
So one of the really great things is you get magazines. So as time progresses and you get new games, you read magazines that have previews of games that you'll play later, and cheats which you can use to sort of like if you're not super into one of the games you're playing and you just kind of want to move on to the next one, look in your magazine collection and there might be like a level skip cheat. Or
the work that they did in emulating the style of video games from that time and how all that stuff evolves and the house characters and them talking to each other and all that stuff is just amazing.
Yeah.
Really good job with that.
So the thing is, Game Master Arino gives you challenges for each game, and I think there's 4 challenges for each game the first time through, and then as you once you do the 4 challenges, you can move to the next game and the next game and the next game. And then at the end, I think there's like master level challenges where you have to like beat the whole game basically. It's been a long time since I actually played through the whole thing. I just played some of it a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago to capture footage for a video that I was making, but I didn't spend a ton of time with it, especially going back, and I didn't go back and do all the challenges and stuff. I just played through some of the games. But yeah, it's a very much a love letter to a certain place in time in game history, and it really nails it in a way that I honestly would love to see a legitimate compilation have an option for a mode like this. Like I don't think people would be into like if they bought an like I don't think people would love if they bought like
a weird plot too, but it's good.
It is a weird plot. Like
you basically want UFO 50 to have like a story mode.
Yeah, well, but not even that. Like I want like Capcom Classics Collection Volume 3 to have a story mode. You know what I mean? Like
I do think that's kind of the most interesting part of the game. Like the retro games themselves are cool, they're fun, but I think what makes it really sing is the way they tie them all together with like the fake magazines and the fact that, you know, games are coming out over time and then they're like, oh, here's a weird variant edition of this game that you get through a restaurant or something.
Yeah, all the stuff that's around the games is not just window dressing. It actually makes the whole experience.
Which doesn't feel as much like an American thing. Like in Japan, there was a special version of Gradius on the Famicom that changed all the power-up capsules to ramen. That was a tie-in to a ramen company. Now we had adver games in the US, of course, but I can't think of anywhere it was like there was one version of a game and then the same game came out as like a promo thing with branding in it. But that does happen in this game. And yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it is absolutely a game to check out on the DS because I think it only got one print run because it didn't sell very well. I remember actually getting it the day it came out. I had to go to like 3 different stores to actually find a copy. The day it came out.
Remember going to stores? All right, that's it. Yes. Time's up. What's your next pick?
Okay. Castlevania: Dawn of Sorrow.
Oh man, figured I could leave you one round without you picking that.
Yeah, I actually had that lower for the same reason. I didn't think anyone else would rate it quite as highly as I did. Good game.
Not even in my top 5. So
good game.
Somebody asked you, Eric. You don't even like the DS.
I like Ghost Trick.
If you were my child, you'd be a disappointing son.
Oh, that's funny because I was just about to say drilling sucks.
I think it sounds like you're just jealous, Rogers.
I am.
So Dawn of Sorrow, which we're not looking at on the screen right now. But,
sorry, I forgot to click the thing. There you go.
Dawn of Sorrow is... I actually think Aria of Sorrow is probably the better game, but...
there goes Joe again, wasting a pick on a game he doesn't even like.
Yeah, guilty.
But no, I'm laughing at the screen.
So
I stepped on my own joke, but whatever. Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
So
go ahead, Joe.
Is that Lowly Worm?
So we're Jesus Christ. So, yeah.
I love that my joke was so dumb that it just completely derailed Joe's train of thought. It's all over. Show's over.
Time's up.
This is the sequel to Castlevania Aria of Sorrow on the Game Boy Advance. And it is a very good sequel.
We played them both together to be Double Sorrow.
That's right. Yeah, also they called to fit it into this stupid naming convention, they called it Dawn of Sorrow, even though it's the sequel. Like it's not a prequel. It's
I've
a
seen
sequel,
more than one Dawn.
But,
yeah, you write the Aria.
Maybe the last one took place in the middle of the night.
I mean, an Aria is a piece of music. I think it can happen whenever.
Right, that's what I mean.
Anyways, so it's got the soul collecting mechanic, as you're clearly seeing here, where you, as Soma Cruz, collect the souls of the different monsters, and playing through the game that way is really good. There's a crafting mechanic where you get certain weapons by giving up certain souls, and like in the save game that I have that is very much towards the end game, I have like the Grim Reaper scythe, which I think I had to give up the Grim Reaper soul to get. And so you kind of have to make a decision, like in terms of what weapons you want to have and what souls you want to have to cast spells and stuff like that. And then it also adds a whole second mode very similar to Richter mode, but it's sort of a throwback to Castlevania 3, where it's a Julius Belmont mode, and you play as Julius, Yoko, and Genya, who are basically, Yoko
Genya's
is
just
Sifa's
Alucard, isn't he?
right. Genya Arikado is just Alucard in disguise.
Hell of a disguise.
But
Yoko's the one
but
everyone
Yoko
blames
is-
for breaking up the Belmonts.
Yes.
right, yeah. Yoko is the descendant of Sifa, which also would make her a descendant of the
Belmonts
Belmonts.
also, yeah, right.
Right, because Trevor and
Sifa got married at the end of
got
3.
married.
Yeah.
I'm kind of ashamed that I know that actually,
Eric,
but
I
any,
appreciate you constantly sliding backwards.
That's how you play
You got
these
to.
fucking video games, dude. Come
yeah,
on.
that's how you play Castlevania, by sliding backwards as much as possible.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, it's one of the best of the Metroidvania, the Igavania style games. Like, I would say this one is really just behind like Symphony of the Night and Aria of Sorrow, and it's a very good one of those. And
I would put it above Aria.
So would
Having
I.
just recently played Aria, you guys are both wrong, but that's fine.
I
so-
recently played Aria too, and I was just, I
You
don't know.
spend
I
you
like
spend,
Aria.
you spend way too much time in this game, like traversing back and forth across this early part of the map. And also this
spend way
game,
less time
because
playing
it's on the DS, had to
Yeah,
forcefully integrate some touchpad stuff.
touchscreen.
And when you have to draw the icons, especially some of the later ones that are really complicated, like to finish the bosses, you have to draw an icon sometimes on the
Steal
screen.
them away.
And there was one that I just could never pull off, and so I never finished the game. It's just like, it's a bad mechanic that shouldn't be in the game.
It was a bad mechanic, but it never.
I did
caused me
finish
many
the game,
issues.
but there were definitely boss fights that were very touch and go for me, because
It's like, I can beat
draw
this
the thing
boss,
and
I
fuck
fucking
it up.
I see
proved
what you
it, I
did.
just can't draw the thing perfect enough for what you want me to do, and so it's bullshit that I can't kill this fucking
Yeah,
giant
but the
boss
fact
gets
that you can
knocked
have-
back and you have to keep fighting it. Yeah.
But the fact that you can have multiple equipment sets and that you have the mini map always available, I think,
nice.
improved the flow of the gameplay so much that I have a
Yeah,
hard
having-
time going
It
back
would be
to
better
Aria.
if the map was better and it didn't have that other stuff in it.
If they updated Aria and let it use the DS and it's better screen and it's more buttons and it's extra screen for the map, then maybe I would be more convinced. But
I don't know.
I also
Anyway, that's time.
it's like it's a little nitpick, but I don't like the changing of the art style from the Ayami Kojima art to this like anime bullshit.
I agree with Joe. Also, Soma is just kind of an insufferable character to have to play as. But that's a problem with both of the games, so it's like that's why I
sweet
like
jacket.
Symphony of the Night better, I guess. than either
Oh,
of
and
them.
also, this is my last thing I'm going to say about it because I know I'm at time. But the
Yeah, you were at time like a minute ago.
the greatest hits cover of this game is one of the best
oh
video
my
game
god,
covers of all time.
yes, that is true. That is pretty awful. All right, it is my turn, and you took a bunch of good games, which is kind of bad for me. I'm gonna pick one that I really love, which I don't think anyone else will take, but it's Etrian Odyssey, the first game in that series.
I'm kind of
It's a good pick.
surprised.
I really like that game. If I was doing all the drafting, that would have been a likely high pick for me as well. Also,
So I thought
arguably
the
the
layer-
game that, other than Ghost Trick, I would say that this is probably the game series that does the best, taking advantage of everything that the
Right,
DS screen
without
has to
being
offer.
Wedged in bullshit.
Right.
And other than Elite Beat Agents, it's the one that you need a screen protector the most for, because all my screen protectors have permanent
Hell
grids
yeah.
etched into them from playing these games.
Let's draw
Yes,
some
baby.
Because the
fucking
grid lines are always
maps,
in the exact
baby.
same places on the screen. Yeah, I love this game. I actually used to play the original Wizardry on a PC when I was like 8 years old. So for them to come back and make a game like that, but this nice. Well, the art was mostly good at the time that the first game came out. There were only a couple of kind of creepy, questionable design choices and some pretty good. Oh, nice character naming there.
Shout out
Anyway,
to Alex,
good
our
art
friend Alex, for
characters.
helping me name these characters and our guild.
Jesus Christ.
I really appreciated the extremely brutal difficulty curve because it really made me feel like I was getting away with something anytime I managed to make it back to town alive,
Yeah,
basically.
everywhere you turn,
Um,
FOE.
And the first game is a little rudimentary in terms of its mechanics. Like they improved some things later on, but I think the first game had a really good balance of difficulty and the different class types. And it's the only one that has a story that I think is even the least bit interesting. And it's also the first one of the series. And there's a whole bunch of samey sequels, and they're all fine, I guess. But this is the one that I that I really enjoyed the most, and it was kind of a wake up. It's like, hey, you can make a game like this, and it's still worth playing.
So I never played any of these, but is it weird that I feel like you're kind of going against the grain because I feel like some people thought that the sequels improved on some of the aspects
Well,
of
mechanically they do
mechanics? Okay.
in some ways. But well, first of all, I hate the second game in the series. I think the second game is terribly balanced and extremely hard and mean spirited.
Mike's right.
So like the third game is another super good contender, and it's got some really neat mechanical stuff that's not in this one. But in a certain sense, this is kind of like the quintessential one for me.
All right.
I agree. I
Nice.
agree with
I
all
felt
the
like
things Mike said. Also, I like drawn maps, and this game has a lot of
Yeah,
maps.
man.
I think
Yeah.
that's actually maybe one of the things that the newer games add the most is all the little extra additional tools that you have for mapping, like extra icons and ability to make
Yeah.
notes and
Because
stuff. But
even the 3DS ones, you still have to draw the map,
hell
right?
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
still the thing.
Well, you can turn on more and more kind of automatic stuff as
Fuck
the series goes on.
If you're a monster.
Yeah. But I mean, so like one of the things that I like the most about these games is, aside from drawing maps, is that they do a really great job of sprinkling the labyrinths with weird events that you just kind of bump into. Sometimes it's like a choose one thing where you're like, do you want to eat this apple? You never know. It could it'll make you fall asleep and you'll get attacked by monsters and have a disadvantage, or maybe it'll refill your health. But also sometimes you just bump into weird people hanging out in the labyrinth or whatever. There's just a lot of cool little things. It behooves you to explore every little nook and cranny, both for
That sounds like a board game that I really like, but I, for whatever reason, bounced off it hard here.
Etrian Odyssey.
It's a slow paced game. You got to be
Yeah.
willing to kind of roll with it, and it's also pretty unforgiving. So if you can't stomach the thought of occasionally getting wiped out and losing some of your progress, then it's maybe not for you.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it, but it's more like just watching the screen right before this battle, where you walk in a room and immediately turn left and start walking in a big square around
Hell
it.
yeah.
Yeah, you do.
I just
Checking every wall.
Cartography and the shit out of this.
I love the art
but
also.
it's
The
like
monster
I
art
feel
and
like you
stuff's
can
great.
see it. So
Yeah, the monster art's good, and the FOEs. It's worth mentioning, like these giant, scary monsters that move around on the map while you're fighting lesser
Terrifying.
monsters.
Yeah,
They're just a red
wreck
orb,
your
but it's like
day.
one of the most tense things you can ever possibly do is when you've delved just a little bit too deep into the dungeon and you need to get back
Yep.
to the door and you don't have enough healing shit, and then a foe shows up and you're like, oh fuck, and you're trying to run and get away from it and
Yep.
outmaneuver it.
Yep.
And
Is it
hoping
like
that you
Evil
don't
Otto from
bump into an enemy, because if you bump into an enemy at the wrong time, then the foe will catch you,
Then-
and because
then
it can
you're fucked,
join
yeah.
in a
Yeah.
battle against regular dudes.
There's a lot of puzzle solving based on that stuff too,
Yeah.
where it's like, oh, I got to find a way to distract this guy for long enough to sneak through and get to the other side of this room. Also, the music is amazing FM synth music by Yuzo Koshiro. Well, amazing. It's super cheesy in its own way, but I love it.
It's good. That's a great game. It's a great pick. And a great series.
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, good job, Mike. All right, Kurt. I think that you're up next.
I am up next. I'm gonna go with The World Ends with You.
Another one I was not expecting to go so soon. I'm gonna be
kinda surprised
digging.
by that too. Actually, I did like that game though.
I'm gonna be digging a little deeper into my catalog than I thought I was.
Yeah, The World Ends with You is a RPG. Speaking of not being able to watch things happen on one screen because you're looking at a different screen,
it's built around that concept.
it is built around that concept.
How did that work on the Switch port, by the way?
I don't know. I never played it.
Later ports of the game automated some of the stuff that was happening on the other screen. So it kind of, which to me kind of loses the point of the game, which is to just be overwhelmed trying to manage
That is
stuff at once.
That is exactly it. It's a game in which you're fighting battles
You're not supposed to
on
be able to
both
keep
screens
up.
at the same
Yeah.
time, and you're flipping things back and forth, trying to manage both things, and you can't really focus on either one effectively to make sure you're doing the right thing. And you're having to sort of mitigate all that stuff on the fly all the time.
It feels like you need to open up a new dimension in your brain or something if
Yep.
you want to.
Yeah, you got to
Succeed
sort of
at this
take
game.
one step back. It is angsty as fuck.
It's hella angsty.
It is hella angsty. But it has it goes way deep with its, aesthetic style. And sort of everything is kind of tied into that. It's all like instead of your standard like biting medieval fantasy style thing, it's all about kids in
Fashion in Shibuya.
Tokyo and yeah, and
Mhm.
fashion and music and all that stuff.
Get your
And
abilities from like pins or
it's
badges?
from
I can't
pins,
remember.
yeah.
Pins.
So you
Yeah.
have pins, and using pins levels them up, and you can also, like, if you have them equipped and you leave the DS, in sleep mode, then you can level them up as well. So if you're just like, I'm not gonna be able to play for a couple days. I'm gonna put these couple of pins on, and level them up so that they get more powerful, and that gives you a lot of changeability in how you access certain abilities and how you play different characters, and those things interact with what clothing you're wearing and all this kind of stuff. So there's tons of sort of elements to like the combat system and how all that stuff works. I think the music is not necessarily something I would listen to independently, but it fits in with the world and the aesthetic. I really like that stuff. So
Yeah, it's super unique on a stylistic level, and I do think
Yeah.
that the mechanics of the game are also really unique and interesting enough to keep you going for as long as it takes. Because they switch it
Yeah.
up on you like every third of the game, you switch partners, and then every partner you play with has a totally different set of
different
moves.
play style
One of them's
and
like a
stuff, yeah.
skateboard guy that you have to make like, was it card combos with? Like you're playing solitaire on one screen while you're using the stylus to move your main character around with the touch screen.
Right.
I don't know. There's a lot
Yeah,
happening,
it
but it's a
gets
really cool
super
game.
overwhelming really fast. Yeah.
I believe the
and-
copy I have is actually Anthony's.
That's interesting.
Was Anthony's.
And related
That's
to
right,
previous
was.
comments, this is part of the reason I picked this one as high as it did, is that it also feels like something that leans very heavily into the specifics of the system.
Right.
Yeah.
I never
and
played this.
So it does a nice job with that.
I probably should.
So.
Maybe I should check out I was gonna get the Switch version when that came out, but it was like $45 or something ridiculous.
I think I actually have a copy I could send you. Someone sent me one for Festivus.
I can give it a
when
shot.
I already had it.
I'd let you borrow mine, but
Apparently Mike
you
has
seem
it.
to have misplaced it.
Mine now.
Yeah, for whatever reason, when it came out, I thought it was related to Kingdom Hearts. I guess just because of the way the character costumes.
Well, it looks
look.
like it. Yeah.
I could see.
I got it
I could see how you
confused
would
with
think
that weird. What is it? Kingdom
And you
Hearts 97 and 8/3
27
27.
Hey, whoa! Don't give
36.
away our strategy.
I mean, you can pick that next if you want. That's up to you.
I'm not gonna.
Oh.
I'll just spoilers.
But anyway, yep.
It.
World
No,
ends with you.
I like the. I mean, you mentioned it, but like, I felt like this game was really hard at first when actually
It
it
is
was really simple.
hard at first.
But then all of a sudden your brain like cracks in half, and it's like you like look at what you're doing on both screens, kind of like you take a step back and you're like, how am I doing both of these things at the same time?
Yep.
It's really good.
Yep.
Good game.
Okay.
Okay.
All right,
Back
Anthony.
to Air Anthony, which is like Air
All
Jordan,
right.
but less,
Anthony.
less.
So we've got 2 in a row here.
We do have 2 in a row.
You had one more game you wanted, right?
Yeah,
Eric?
I'll get it at the end because I literally don't think anybody else has played it, so that could be our number 5.
I mean,
Yeah,
I've
I don't know.
Okay. I know you haven't
I'm not
played
sure.
it, but I've been trying to
I-
convince you to play it for a long time, and you haven't. So
Okay.
anyway, go
All
ahead,
right, well,
Anthony.
if he snaps it up, how will you feel?
I'll be fine. It's fine. Just
Okay,
go ahead and make your
good.
pick.
Okay. Then,
This is very important.
The first pick is the make hurt sad pick, I think, and I'm gonna do Rhythm Heaven.
It makes me a little sad.
Rubba dubba dub, is that true?
Is that true?
Wrong
You
game.
got the other good rhythm game on the system.
I did.
There's only one Y in rhythm, Eric.
What's that? Oh,
There's only one.
too late,
That's
I-
right time heaven.
it's too late. I can't change.
Well,
it
yeah,
now.
Right Time Heaven is
I've
also a
already
good
moved
game.
into the
but-
other.
It's a crossover with Cookie Mama. Yeah, I mean it's for those that wanted a little more music with their WarioWare.
Puzzle games and rhythm games,
Yeah, that's pretty
man.
much what it is.
You can get yourself some puzzle games and rhythm games and tapping.
Yep,
all,
it's
all,
pretty-
all
yeah,
what the
it's-
system
Tapping
is
is
about.
all you do with this, right? You
Yep.
don't really do much of anything else.
There's a lot of
It's
flicking, a lot of flicking.
I mean, that's pretty
There's fucking,
reductionist. But yes,
Yeah.
it's good.
It's pretty reductionist.
Right, but like the thing about Rhythm Heaven 1 for the GBA was that all you do is press the A button, right? Like
Right.
I don't think you do anything else in that game.
It's funny,
one
like
button game.
that and Owen Dawn are possibly, I think those might be the 2 games I ever imported.
Really?
I like rhythm games, I guess.
Thanks.
Really?
But so this one, like, I like pushing buttons better than like I was for as much as I absolutely loved the DS, I was kind of in the man. I wish I could just push a button instead of use the stylus here. But I don't know. It's a solid rhythm game. It's a lot of fun. I don't know.
Just
There's
a lot
not-
of cute,
there's
really
not- I
good,
think, like,
cute little
WarioWare
bite-sized
plus
scenarios.
music is
Yeah,
what?
it equals joy.
right. It's good. It's really good. And I think the reason I'm really fond of this one is because I did play the GBA one and like nobody else had played it. And this one like was the first one to come out in the US and a bunch of people like, "Oh man, have you heard of this? This is really good." Like and so
And
it
you
was
were
just
like
sort of like
hipster on them.
well, no, it was not hipster. It was like finally people. It's like what Eric was just saying about the game that we haven't mentioned with Mike. Like I just wanted other people to play it, and like miraculously that happened. So, yeah,
Nice.
I don't know, good times.
It's good. I played this. I like the Wii one, Rhythm Heaven Fever, better. I think.
I actually
Yeah.
didn't only because
Is
I
that
didn't
true?
like playing it
It
on the
is
screen
true.
as
It has
much.
co-op.
Rub-a-dub-a-dub.
It has fucking crazy ass. The co-op in that game is bonkers.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
true.
Yeah, we played that at
We
PAX.
did,
one
yeah.
year.
You and Coffee and I stayed up till
Yeah,
like 3
me and
o'clock in the
Coffee.
morning playing it.
Nice.
Yeah, it's good. It's a fun way to play that game.
Yeah, the whole series is good. I did not play the 3DS one, which I guess is
Me
like a
neither.
best of kind of.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I didn't play the
anyways, they
3DS
need one of these on Switch.
That's
then
the vibe with
They
the
do.
3DS though, because the WarioWare on 3DS was also a best of.
a best
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Next.
I'm
Anyways,
gonna go-
next.
So what comes after Ride Time Heaven?
I gotta
Yes.
dig both of these things out now.
Don't slow down on us.
Oh, that's right. I forgot I have 2.
Yeah, you get 2.
Yeah.
You go again.
Keep it going. Keep it going. Keep it
I
going.
thought Eric was gonna get one of those too.
Man,
you, I don't
He
need
thinks
to
he's
until
going to be
then.
able to hold it.
all right. I think I can't tell where this is gonna get snatched up, so I'll just take it. Kirby Canvas Curse.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Nice.
I'm
Fuck yeah.
surprised that's the Kirby game that you went with.
That is it's one of the best Kirby games there is.
That game is
I
real good.
agree.
It's really
It
good.
is.
Eric, I
And-
feel like you were quite
I love
the
Mass.
proponent of
I love Mass Attack. There's not enough Kirby's. Kurt and I had this discussion before we started.
I never played.
There's a
Mass
lot of
Effect.
Kirby's,
think-
but it's not enough Kirby's. You know what I mean?
So
There-
I bought Mass
It's just an
Attack on
attack.
Eric's recommendation like 6 years ago, and I still haven't played it. But it's on
That's
my
me
shelf.
too.
You
That's me
guys should
too.
both play it. It's really good, but it's not. I don't think it's as good as Canvas Curse. I think that like Mass Attack starts out really good, and you like have these grand visions of how amazing it's going to be at the end, but it just kind of is that game throughout the whole thing. So it's fine. It's really good. I really like Mass Attack, but I think this game has
Yeah,
like some
but I
stuff in it
think- I
is
think
like
it's-
borderline brilliant and.
Yep, and just like what you said with like you went straight to Mass Attack too. Like the best Kirby's are the weird ones.
There's a lot. I mean, all the Kirby's are pretty
well, I
fucking
mean,
weird.
Well, okay,
That's one of the good things about Kirby.
They're like not standard platformers that he did a bunch of. Like this one, you just use the stylus to draw these magical rainbow lines and Kirby rolls
Right.
around.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
really struggling
Or, like,
to do that
Kirby
with my
Pinball is
mouse.
super fun.
Also,
You don't control Kirby.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. It's just, but this game, like, I almost didn't get it, except everyone was like, "Oh, this is the DS proving itself as a system,"
Mhm.
was like a common thing, and I was like, "All right,
Yeah.
well, I'll take a chance." And man, I love this game. It's good.
Yep. It's real good.
This is one I'll pull out and play every once in a while.
yeah, I think
There
it.
just
I think
isn't
it does
anything
a
else like
really great job of integrating all the weird powers that Kirby can have.
Yep.
And into the way
In,
you're
like,
just kind of like
interesting
rolling.
ways.
Yeah, kind of like
Yeah.
Kirby Dream Course does the same thing.
Mhm.
Man, Kirby Dream Course is so good.
Yeah, Kirby Dream Course
Yep.
is great.
because it's a weird one.
Yeah, I mean, I like the regular Kirby games. I like
I do too.
Kirby's Adventure. I think is really good. That's the Nintendo one, and the second one on Game Boy is also really good. But
I actually I haven't quite finished it, but I've been playing Kirby's Adventure for the first
yeah, it's
time,
really good.
and it's really good too.
Yeah,
But but Kirby platformers are just a little too easy.
yeah,
That
they're
don't.
way too easy.
I always just kind of run out of steam
Yeah.
when I'm playing them, but when it's something like this where it's Kirby in a weird setting or like there's a weird dynamic, it's just
Conceit to
they're
it,
always
Yeah,
fun.
well, I mean, in this game actually gets kind of difficult. This is one of the harder Kirby
Yeah.
games, which means it's still not that difficult, but it trying to keep up with him rolling, keeping him going in the right direction
Yep.
using the limited resource of the rainbow line that you can draw, can be.
It's like
It's
they
really
figured out how to make
taxing on
Sonic
your
interesting.
brain to have to like keep track of his momentum and also draw lines where you need to at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
And also like try to use the powers effectively. So you're like tapping Kirby and drawing lines and trying to keep his momentum up, and it's just like you're moving
Yeah,
the
there's a lot
stylus
of
back
juggling.
and forth. The kinematics of playing this game is really good. Yeah.
Them kinematics, am I right?
Hell yeah.
You are right.
You are right.
All right.
All right. Well,
Shall we move on to Kurt?
I'm glad where I keep all my old DS games is like in the other room because I just would be pulling out a stack to play from here.
I literally have a
I'm in a
stack
very,
right in
I'm in
front
a
of me
very
right now.
I'm in a very good place at the moment. I'm just like,
Thinking
man,
about
I'm smiling so much.
thinking about
Thinking
Kirby.
about Kirby, and
Just thinking about Kirby is a good place to be in, really.
it is. That's true. That's very
All right.
true.
What do you got, Kurt?
All right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh no, that didn't come out in the U.S.
I'm gonna go with Dragon Quest Heroes Rocket Slime.
Hell yeah.
Oh,
Ooh, good one.
I was
That-
just adding that to my list because I realized no one picked it yet.
Well, you can
I'll
take
take
it
it
back
right
off.
back off.
Take it
yeah.
right back off. Yeah.
Speaking of weird non-standard.
Speaking of exactly. Speaking of weird games, I was kind of like, when it came out, I was like, nah. Like I hadn't played a lot of Dragon Quest stuff, but I was like, eh. And then people were like, no, it's really good. And it's weird, and it does this crazy
Yep.
stuff. And, okay, I'll try it.
It definitely
It's
is
super-
weird
it-
and does a lot of crazy
It
stuff.
is.
It is weird. and
Both
does
of those
stuff.
things are true. You play as a slime, which you essentially use your power to bounce around to defeat enemies and break things and pick up stuff. And then sometimes you're in a tank
Mm-hmm.
and fighting.
Yep.
And
Like-
reading the text on the screen right now, it definitely makes a case for best plot on the DS.
Mhm.
I mean, you're probably not wrong.
I love any
You are a
game
rocket
where your
slime.
town gets destroyed and then you have to build the town and collect the town's folk as you go along.
Right,
That's
exactly,
always a great
yeah.
conceit.
It gives you a compelling reason to push along and do these things.
Some Dark
It's-
Cloud
it's-
vibes.
Mhm.
It's kind of happy, you know.
Yeah.
Suikoden.
Doesn't have a dark outlook to it. You're
No,
just
not
like
at
a
all.
happy slime bouncing around doing things. Even if you're fighting, you're like, I'm just gonna slam into this buddy and we'll do our thing.
I'm just
So-
gonna load every object in this tank into this cannon, and shoot
right,
it
and
at
I'll
the
just
bad
fire it
guys.
all, and it'll probably be fine.
Chairs and fucking like just anything you can find. It goes in the cannon.
Yeah.
That's right.
If there's leftovers
the first-
in the fridge, they go in the cannon. Fuck, the
the
fridge
first-
goes in the cannon. It
Yeah,
all goes in the cannon.
The first time, like you start dealing with the cannon or the tank thing, I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I thought I knew what this game was, but I obviously do not.
Everything goes in the cannon. It all goes.
That's
in the
that's the subtitle. Rocket slime.
Slightly
Everything goes in the
smaller
cannon.
cannon goes in the cannon.
Yeah, it goes in the cannon. It's cannons all the way down.
cannon. Yep.
So yep.
Yeah, I think that the biggest
And
problem.
I forget if this is like, is this one full of puns also?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a
Absolutely.
Dragon Quest game, so yes.
The biggest problem is what?
I was gonna say the biggest problem that this game has is the same problem that a similar game in Dragon Quest Builders has, is that just the pacing is a little slow. Like it just like
Yeah,
the game could have
that
been
is true.
kind of like maybe 2/3 of its length, and it would have been, I think, a little
Yeah.
stronger. Just like There's
Is that
a-
true for literally every Dragon Quest game?
Kind of, yeah. There's
Yeah,
a certain
yeah,
point where
yeah.
all of
That's the
those
thing,
games were
right?
just like, yep, I'm doing the same thing that I've been doing for 25 hours, and I kind of got it, and I can just move on.
I'm kind of over it,
Yeah.
but I'm almost there. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever
But I
finished
hear
this or not,
old
but
Japanese people love it.
I've heard that they all take the day off or whatever,
Yeah.
The month.
something like that. I don't know, but yeah, I do.
mean,
I
when
love.
I
School's
finished,
canceled for
when
the
I
whole month.
finished Dragon Quest, whatever 8, I was on like 160 hours or some shit
Yep.
like that.
I never.
Took me like 4 years to beat it.
Yeah, I never finished this game, but I definitely had a great time with the 15 or 20 or so hours.
Look at him
I
with his
played.
happy flute. Look at that.
Yeah, it's really funny.
So yeah, Dragon Quest, Rocket Slime.
pick.
Dragon Quest Heroes, Rocket Slime.
Good pick.
Good pick. Good pick.
Yeah.
All right, Mike.
I never played it, but sure.
That's good. You should play it.
All right, I'm going to pick another definitive DS game,
Dun, dun.
touchscreen and all up in your face,
Okay.
with Trauma Center Under the
Ah.
Knife.
Nice.
That was
Which
going to
I'm-
be my next one. If
Nice.
I'm a little surprised we made
So-
it this far.
I,
Me too.
I that was actually what I was waffling on. Now let me ask you this: did you ever resort to multiple styluses?
I did not. I
All
finished
right.
the game legit
Okay.
with one hand
Lying
tied behind my
cheater.
back.
You're not just a cheater, you're a liar, Mike.
I'm not a cheater. I'm not a cheater or a liar.
Unbelievable.
I didn't think of it.
I would have done
You're
it in a
liar and an
heartbeat.
idiot.
I almost certainly would have done it if I had thought of it and if I had a second stylus. Which I didn't. But I didn't. I finished that game fair and square, and it is a son of a bitch. So I feel like I
It
did
is
a
a
pretty
son
good
of a
job.
bitch.
Yeah, Anime Doctor doing, I guess, what you would call real-time puzzle solving, basically,
Uh-huh.
with a bit of a medical twist to it, and these weird, crazy, genetically engineered diseases that do not do anything that diseases actually do in the real human body.
Oh, how would you know that? Like you work in a hospital or something.
I don't know. Also, 26-year-old surgeon? I don't know about that.
He's a genius, Mike, and he has magic powers.
Yeah, he's
And he
maybe
does
he's-
have the magic
he's
power to slow
older
down
Doogie
time,
Howser.
right? He's got bullet time. Only it's for taking bullets out instead
Scalpel
of putting them in
Yeah,
people.
Scalpel time.
Distracting bullets.
Anyway, I thought this game was super cool. It's one of the first DS games that I played, and I was just like, this is so unique, and wow, I'm using a stylus, and that guy's bleeding, and I just put some gel on him, and he's fine now. And it's extremely great, except when you have to do the triangle virus, which is just completely ridiculous. And
Yeah.
Like-
Eric is reminding me of the Kids in the Hall Bad Doctor sketch. Like
What are you talking about?
right now.
anyway, I like Dr. Anime. I'm not
It's
sure
great.
what else I have to say about it, except it's
I
Dr.
remember-
Anime.
This is the game. I think I've told this story to you guys at some point, where like I threw my DS across the room after failing something at the last second like 3 times, and then I just like went and took a shower and was like, I like whatever. I'm not playing this for the rest of the day. And then as I like calmed down, I thought about it. I was like, why did that keep happening? And then I was like, oh man, I think I know what I could do differently. And it came back and like destroyed it. And it was like
Nice.
that's. I think it's almost like I
You
didn't.
Dark
realize it
Souls
was a-
did.
but I feel like I didn't realize this was a puzzle game.
It's the Dark
Until that
Souls of anime hospital stylus control.
Jesus.
puzzle
No,
game.
Dark
Okay.
Souls is the trauma center.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, your
sorry.
Estus flask is filled with antibiotic gel.
Mhm.
Instantly regenerates tissue. A lot of frantic scrubbing in this game when you're trying to cover things up with gel really quickly, or
Yeah, I had honestly had never played it before. I played it for this little.
I feel like I only played the Wii version,
Footage capture.
actually.
the
I
Wii.
never
So the
played
Wii
the Wii
version
version.
builds in the cheating that you were so sanctimonious about earlier.
Yes,
By
but at
giving
least
you
I'm
a-
honest about it.
By giving you that on the joystick on the nunchuck to let you switch items.
Yeah.
I never played much of the Wii sequel, which I would at some point, if I find a dedicated person, we will sit down and co-op through some probably really hard puzzles in the co-op sequel to, is it New Blood, I think?
I don't remember what.
I like how you're going to kill
Was
this
the
patient
one-
by misapplying bandages to them.
Hey man, it happens.
Yeah, It happens in the game and it
Warning.
happens in real life, so it's fine. All right.
Warning.
Like, I don't remember if it was New Blood or one of the others, but one of them involves like a new hospital where like all of the doctors are like specialists.
But that's
In
Trauma
different-
Team, I think.
Yeah, and that one was a lot of fun to play co-op.
Yeah, I never got to try that one, I'm afraid.
It was good. It was
Did
good.
you play it with Alex, and was he really annoying the whole time?
No, but he would have been for certainly.
Let me
Trauma
explain
Center.
why this.
Co-op
none of this
trauma
is
center
true.
is a little bit. You're like one person is trying to undo the damage of the other person.
Oh, I just meant because he is a nurse.
It's a lot
in
like
a
life in that
hospital,
way.
So, like, would he just be
Oh,
like,
I played this.
well, it's actually not
pre-Nurse
like
Alex.
it's not like that at all.
Yeah.
This is a malpractice suit waiting
What
to
he's
happen.
Yeah, I was gonna say Eric is turning this into serial killer simulator.
I just wanted to see, since I almost killed that other guy, I wanted to see what would happen if I lost a patient, so I just stabbed this guy to death. Apparently the game didn't like it
Yeah,
very
you
much.
become homeless.
Yeah, you become a bum apparently.
All right, well, you're out of video, so we must be out of
Yeah,
time.
that's it.
Back to
you're
me
up,
then,
You're
huh?
up, Joe. You got 2 in a row.
All right. Well, I'm actually
Two in a row,
One
Joe.
more.
I'm surprised this game is still on the table because
Me
of how this
too.
has gone traditionally in the past, but I'm going to take Contra 4.
Well,
Ah.
the reason it's still on the table is that I did not have fun playing that game.
Yeah, same. I wanted to like that game so bad, but
It's
Yeah,
like
well,
a
I mean,
game
there's
that I
a-
recognize it's really well made, and I just did not have any fun playing it.
There's a reason that I picked Retro Game Challenge and Dawn of Sorrow before I picked Contra 4. But since it's still out there, I do really like Contra 4. I think some of the criticisms against it, especially because I did revisit this one more extensively very recently after playing through
24
Blazing
hours.
Chrome. No, I didn't play this one. I don't have an easy way to stream Contra 4
Oh, I see.
footage, so I actually
Never mind.
didn't.
this game emulates very
yeah.
nicely, Joe. So if you ever want to.
Okay, well. that's
Also, you
good
don't
to
have to
know.
worry about the weird mouse control aspect of playing emulated DS
Right,
games.
playing-
That's because it's
yeah,
just a
playing this one.
platformer.
I
But,
forgot how many frames there are in that run cycle.
Yeah, it's this
Yeah,
is a
it's
crazy
a lot.
good looking game.
That's a supple run cycle.
Looks great. The backgrounds are great. The parallax is great. The biggest complaint that people tend to have, and that I cannot really disagree with, is that sometimes it's very hard to track objects from one screen to the next. And if a
Just can't
bullet,
fucking do
like,
it.
not only because there's a gap, they treat the gap as if there is a gap there, like there's something there that you can't see.
Right.
It's how the game treats it.
Yeah, they treat it like the space is there. It's
Right.
whatever the size is that isn't shown.
Right.
But
Which
it's
I
still
don't love. I think it would have been more intuitive to me had they not done that.
Yep.
But it, would
have-
mean, it means that your diagonal
I've
shots wouldn't have gone in
heard-
straight lines.
You have
That's
heard
true.
from
I've heard
certain
through
sources.
professional interviews, shall we say,
Uh,
that in all the playtesting, it really threw people off to pretend that gap wasn't there.
Right.
okay.
Like anything coming from the top, like fucked up the timing
Yeah.
way more.
I think
Okay,
that
well,
But I think
I mean, I
They
haven't.
I
could've made
think
it-
the
they
real
could've made it an
answer is
option.
like maybe being on 2 screens wasn't the best for this.
yeah, that's what I was
yeah,
gonna
I mean,
say.
there's
is
part
that
of me that kind of thinks maybe it should have just been a single screen.
yeah,
game.
like
Right.
the problem is that it's vertically oriented in the first place, and my eyes are horizontally oriented. This is like in a game like this, like
You should have held
traditionally
it book style.
platformers are easier when you have more like a wider aspect ratio to work with because you have peripheral vision that's better from
Right.
side to side than it is top to bottom. And so just
Yeah,
like
right.
when you're concentrating on something that's happening on the lower screen, just anything happening above just totally gets lost for me.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
it's
the other
like a
thing.
mental. Yeah.
It's not even just tracking the shots between screens. It's that like sometimes a thing fires at you from up top
You
and
just
you're not
don't
watching up
see
top.
it.
You're watching the bottom,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden you're dead.
Yeah.
Right.
But I spent a lot of time playing this game on hard mode. I've done all the challenges and unlocked all the bonus stuff, including Contra and Super C, which was the only like non-NES cartridge way to play NES Contra until like 3 months ago.
Yeah, it's weird
Uh,
that Super C and Contra were both on this, and then Contra was so hard to come by for so long.
Yeah, it wasn't on the NES Classic, wasn't on the Virtual Console, wasn't on the Wii U Virtual Console. Like, isn't one of the games in the in the Switch Online package. Like, it's so weird that NES Contra is such a. Anyways, point is,
I
You always find
this is not
yourself
my
talking
favorite
about the best
Contra.
Contra game whenever Contra comes up.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's part of what gives this game provided until very recently the only portable way to play NES Contra, though. So
True.
that it's it's almost worth it just for that. um, it's good. The grappling mechanic isn't like it's not like Bionic Commando, but like I like the grappling hook stuff. The 3D stages are cool. The fact that this thing that Eric is fighting right now or just got killed by, you can actually kill the dude inside of it and
Ride
take
it,
over that
yeah.
ride in it, like a sort of like Metal Slug. It's not my favorite Contra, but I would say it's probably in my top 5, definitely top 10 Contra games. I like this one a lot, and it's again the, shooters that are tate oriented are usually games that scroll up and
Right.
down. Like if this was
Well,
I don't know, 1943. That's not a Konami game, but that kind of thing.
Right.
Or Commando.
That would make more sense to go right.
or
to,
even the
bottom to
overhead
top, but-
stages from Contra or Contra.
Yeah,
3 or
the
whatever.
overhead Super C
Yeah.
stages. Yeah, the overhead Super C stages. But so it's flawed, but I still, again, like you said, it looks great. There's a ton of fan service. You can play as Sheena from Contra Hardcore as one of the unlockable characters. They put the sprites for Jimbo and Sully from Contra 3 on the Super NES in here as unlockable characters. There's
I
the
think-
weapons are great.
They bring
I'll
back the
say the
circular
other
fire
thing-
shot, which I love.
yeah,
the other
Yeah.
thing I liked about
and
that
they brought
game-
back the cooking mini game. So
Yeah, right. the
Oh,
other
wait.
thing I liked about Contra 4 was that when you played on normal, there's an extra level when you play on hard.
See, I don't
Yes.
like that. I hate
And-
that.
Well,
Yeah, that made me
let
real mad.
But let me finish. But the first few levels of hard are easier than the last few levels of normal. So like it was kind of like trying to train you up. I liked that. Like that made sense to me.
I kind of get
Okay,
that.
I don't know. I
felt-
felt like you should be able to practice all the stages on the medium or easy difficulty levels, so that way you can learn how to play the game and then try and.
I don't
Yeah.
love that.
Way up.
I don't love that easy cuts it off so early.
Yeah, it's like 3 stages or
Yeah.
something. It sucks.
Oh, is it really that
Yeah.
early? I didn't know that.
It's pretty short. Normal. I don't mind adding extra stuff in hard because like Contra 3 has an extra boss
Yeah.
fight in hard and that kind of stuff. But I think that it's kind of bogus to cut off.
It reminded me of like playing all the way to the end of normal on like Guitar Hero or Rock Band, and then like you go back to the next difficulty on the easy songs, and you're like, oh wow, I can do this.
It reminded me of not being able to practice the hardest level because I couldn't get
Well,
there on
there
easy.
is that. Well,
Because
That's
it didn't
fair.
exist on easy. All right,
And-
moving on.
moving
And
on.
with that, my next pick is Guitar Hero on Tour. No, it's not. It's
Oh, the accordion
Oh,
simulator.
you heard him.
although I will say that I think it was a bummer that they removed a GBA slot in later iterations because there were some games that did some fun stuff with the GBA slot,
Yeah.
including Dawn of Sorrow. You get a bonus item if you put Aria of Sorrow in the cart slot when you.
Oh,
boot
yeah.
up
Oh,
the
I
game.
never tried that. I have those.
Yeah,
games.
you get like
I
a
forgot
luck
about that.
ring or something like
Yeah,
that.
it is, and also just like it's kind of a nice way to play GBA games.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that for sure. But
Only
also
if you like the
there's a-
colors to be super washed out.
Fair.
There's a spinner
Yeah,
controller.
but Mike, imagine if
for-
you could play it on a DSi with
For
the better
Arkanoid.
screens.
Yeah, for Arkanoid and for Space Invaders.
Space
Extreme.
Invader Extreme, yeah.
But that only came out in Japan, but
Alright.
it slots into the
Joe.
GBA.
I have that.
All right,
You have to make your pick.
Joe, let's talk more choosing.
So, I mean, I'm going to be talking more once I choose. But speaking of games
Weird.
that I'm surprised are still on the board,
Mhm.
I guess I'm not sorry because y'all had plenty of chances to take Mario Kart DS by
Oh,
this point.
That's a good one.
Arguably
yeah,
the best
it
one.
I'm
is.
glad it went to
That's
you
a
as
really-
the man who has the correct opinion on Mario Karts.
Right. So the best Mario Kart is actually Mario Kart Double Dash. That's
Yep.
actually the best Mario Kart. But
Correct.
Mario Kart DS is probably like the third. Like Mario Kart 8
Correct.
is super good, and I think
I told
DS
you.
Mario
slides
Kart
in-
8
opinion.
is super good.
Yeah, I would say like Double Dash, 8, and then DS is like the top 3 Mario Karts. This is
I had to stop and think for a second if Yop Yop was a racial slur.
I don't think so.
But I
Boy,
think
I
you're
hope
good.
Whoever ripped this cart.
I did stare at that for a second.
50cc, Eric. What is this?
What's that?
Playing on
amateur hour over
50cc.
You
You got time to kill.
Oh, yeah.
So Eric doesn't have. Eric is obviously playing from like a new or newish save
I'm
file
playing
here.
Yop
so he
Yop
doesn't.
save
There's a
file.
lot of dudes.
Yeah,
Hey,
right.
shout
That's
out
where
to
we're
shout out to
dumping
Yop Yop for ripping his
Shout
cart
out.
and
for
posting it.
dumping the
Yeah.
ROM. Yeah. Shout out to Yop Yop for not dumping the ROM before he put his name in.
It's like the equivalent of
He
like
put his name in and it was like, oh wait.
it's the equivalent of old PC rippers, like where they would
Yeah.
make those special splash screens where they play
Splash
music
screens,
and put
yeah.
their-
Demo screens.
Right.
Hell
Demo
yeah.
screens.
Oh,
Yeah.
see, I was thinking it's more like when you rent a game and like you just
Right.
have
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
game
that too.
Also
you
kind of
rented
like that.
before.
You're like, oh, Dave played this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So did this game come out before Double Dash?
No, after.
After, okay. So it's not the first true 3D Mario Kart game.
In fact, I would say years after, if I'm not mistaken.
This game is only
Double
like
Dash came
barely
out.
truly 3D also.
Yeah, but this is one that I played. Okay, so I
played this game the most.
I unlocked everything.
Me
in
too.
this
There's a
game.
lot of stuff to
Uh,
unlock.
Which I think Rob is the last thing you unlock, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think that's
Or
right.
one of them, and like I remember unlocking Rob and being like, "Oh man, I
This
think
came
I'm
out
done."
2 years after Double Dash.
Yeah, 2 years after Double Dash. So I got why there was no double dashing in the DS version. That made sense, but I'm still mad that they haven't double dashed again since Double Dash in a
I
proper
agree.
console iteration. But this game,
You mean to
has
say
a-
that they dash singularly?
yes, has a ton of. I also didn't. I will say that part of my fondness of this game is that I did not play this online at all. Right, and I know there were a lot of people who were very mad at the snaking thing and felt like it was cheating. And it
The
was
DS
frustrating.
stands for dumb snaking.
Yeah, there you go. I didn't play it online. I think maybe once or twice against people that like I knew, but I definitely did not make it a habit, and I never played with randos.
No.
So I just played.
Same.
I just like played through the game because there was so much of it, so much stuff to unlock, so many racers, so many carts, like, and it's a real good one of these.
I really like the map. I feel like the way that they use the map on
Yep.
the other screen is really nice.
Yep.
Yep. I think the levels are fairly solid throughout.
Blue shell is still garbage.
Yeah.
Did you get
Blue
blue
shell.
shelled and
I mean,
lightning
the
bolted at
tracks.
the
Yipper.
same time? That's
I
garbage.
I still won
hate
because
that.
I was playing on
I
Nintendo,
also-
but
For me, like the Game Boy
50cc.
Advance one was kind of garbage.
That's my least favorite. That's my
Yeah.
second
It's
least
probably-
favorite Mario Kart.
Yep.
Same.
Actually
And-
tamped down my enthusiasm for Mario Kart for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same. So like this one, but this one like was easy to just wirelessly play with everyone else who had it. So like every time I traveled or like went to see some friends or whatever, like everyone just whipped out their DS and we ended up playing Mario Kart at some point and it was fucking good.
Yeah.
It just like
It's
Yeah.
fucking good. It's
really
this is
good.
a very good Mario Kart with a lot, and the 4 circuits worth of retro tracks that they chose are all like very good fun picks.
Yep.
You know, it's this is a real
this
good
is the
Mario
last
Kart.
Mario
Again,
Kart
I'm-
game that I spent any significant amount of time with.
that's understandable, but I will say that 8 is super good.
I believe you,
8 is
but I'm
really
just
good.
Yeah, I like
I'm
it a
just
lot.
kind of over Mario Kart. I think.
I was pretty over it after 7 because 7 was bad.
Same.
No, wait.
Yeah,
Which one was the Wii? No, Wii. Wii is the one that was real bad.
that's right. Mario Kart.
7 was
You
boring.
didn't like
And then
the
I didn't
cool
play
racing
7
wheel you could put
because
your
I
thing
didn't
in?
like 7s, or I didn't play 7 because I didn't like Wii so much, and then I got dragged back in to 8 because everybody said it was so great, and then I was like, nope, this is actually really great.
Okay. All right,
I didn't even play 8 until Switch, and
Mike.
man,
Yeah.
yeah.
Me?
Sorry,
Mike.
Go ahead, Mike.
All right,
Mario Kart do you want to do next?
Not that. Okay. You guys take a lot of my favorite games, but there's still some really cool ones that I love a lot. And I think what I'm going to pick right now is the one and only Meteos, the puzzle game from what's it called? Q Entertainment.
Games,
The,
yeah.
Yep.
the
Game.
puzzle game
I
from
always
that
get confused
generation
as-
that's not Luminous.
Exactly.
Right, exactly.
Back in the days when the PSP and the DS both came out, and everyone looked at them both and said, "Well, obviously the PSP is going to win this generation." There was the Lumines, which was like the killer app for the PSP, and then there was Meteos.
Man, Luminous is so good.
Luminous is really
Well-
fucking good.
You love that up in it.
I mean,
Well,
BDS,
that's-
BDS is a solid pick. BDS is a good
Same
game.
company, right? That made this
Yes,
game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
And it's got the little Einsystende Neubauten guy dancing at the bottom of
nice.
the screen.
Yes,
So
nice.
So Medios is pretty unique as puzzle games go, not in that you're mixing blocks together, because of course every puzzle game is that, but in the sense that when you do mix them together, they create rocket boosters, and then you're playing this weird, desperate race against time as you try
It's really
to.
dumb.
And physics.
Launch 'em
You're trying to
past
get them,
the
get them
point.
high enough to get off the screen. Like,
Before
fuck.
you drown underneath an avalanche
Yep.
of new blocks.
Yep.
And I think what makes the game really interesting to me also is
Man,
that
it
all the
gets
different
frantic.
worlds have, it's incredibly frantic. All the different worlds have their own physics and things. So like sometimes they take off really easily, and other times you need to make these huge, like 8 wide booster blocks. There are times when you're wrestling your entire screen worth of blocks off the ground and just like hoping that you can find some combination in the already rising blocks that you can make to give them just that little
Just
extra
give them a
kick to
little-
get them
yeah.
off the
Yep.
screen.
Yep.
I don't know.
I have to say, I sort of discounted this, like knowing that it was just on the list of like good DS games, and now that I'm watching it again, I'm like, man, this game was a lot better than I remember it.
Yeah, so I haven't actually played this in a really long time.
I just having just played it. I played it for like 15 minutes and was like, I think I'm done with this.
That's enough?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good though. It is good, but it's just I like whenever I think of it, I always think I could play this, or what I should be doing is playing Lumines instead.
But they're not not at all the same.
No, but it's just they're intrinsically tied together in my brain because they came out at the same time, and
Sure.
Well, I never put that one on the DS.
that's true.
It's true.
There is a pretty good Tetris.
I was gonna say, yeah, I'm really surprised that this got picked before Tetris DS.
Personally, I didn't love Tetris DS. But I'm a weirdo when it comes to
I don't even
Tetris.
think
That
I
my
played
canonical
Tetris
Tetris is
DS.
Spectrum Holobyte Tetris on PC.
Yeah, man. You know it.
So what else was it? Like, is there more Medioses out there, or is this kind of the only?
No, I think this is the only.
I thought there was another
ever
one.
made this.
But maybe
though?
I'm thinking of Luminous.
Right. See, that's what I'm
There's a bunch
saying.
of-
That's what I'm saying.
There's
Yeah,
a
it's almost
bunch
like they had a lot of
Luminuses.
success with that series, and they maybe didn't come back to Medios ever.
Yeah.
Many Luminuses.
Anyway, I don't have a ton to say about it. It's just charming and cute. It's got these weird little stick figures who dance around.
Yeah.
It's got cool like synesthesia stuff happening, and it's just like you're really frantic. I think is
It's
a good word
cube
for it.
game, almost.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And
Those guys look
Apparently,
so much like the Einstein and Neubauten guy that I'm surprised they didn't sue.
apparently there was a mobile port that also included
Really?
Luminous.
What was that like on?
Or no, not included. The same company did both of them.
Oh,
That's what
okay.
it is.
I'm saying-
I'm speed reading the.
But was that like on flip phones or something, or is that actually on iOS or Android?
It was in 2005 and 6. It doesn't.
So
say.
not iOS then.
Yeah, and then there was a Medios Disney Magic.
Oh, that's right. I remember.
Really?
I
Yeah,
remember that.
Mickey Mouse, Winnie the Pooh, and Jack Sparrow are featured in
Oh
the game,
boy.
which is a
Well, I know what I'm doing tomorrow.
Huh. That's something. And then there was an online version in Japan on PC, which up to 4 people could play.
That
So,
seems
like I said, only one version ever.
That's right.
there's not like a
Medios
Medios
Wars.
2 though, or
There's a Medios Wars. It was on
Medioser.
Xbox Live Arcade.
Medios.
There
Wars.
is no Medios 2.
We're too
from what I
busy.
can see.
Everybody was too busy playing Chime on Xbox Live Arcade.
I love Chime.
Anyway,
Also,
I
I
don't
was
remember
I dominated
Chime.
the Chime leaderboards back when that game
Sure
went
you did.
XBL.
all right. Is there anything
Every
else?
single song on that game.
Anything else about Medios?
Look at those blocks flying up when you
It's
just send
pretty
one
cool.
block up. So
I
satisfying.
really like that. I like that mechanic. I think that mechanic's really cool. But I felt
And then
I
you fly off
always
into
felt like there
space.
was not enough of things in the game or something.
I spent a lot of time playing this game. I don't know. I went through the whole campaign. I feel like there was plenty there.
Okay,
It's been a long time.
that's good. I'm not gonna tell you it's bad or anything. It's good.
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah.
What's next?
All right. I don't know. That's up to Kurt.
Oh man.
Mm-hmm.
What do I have? 2 picks
You got
left.
2 picks left. There's like
got 2 picks
7
left.
picks total left. 6 picks total. 6 picks.
Oh man.
Do something.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with.
Do the right thing.
I'm trying to decide if
Decide
I'm gonna try and
soon.
cheat or not.
Delaying sucks.
I'm gonna go with Picross DS.
Okay.
Damn it!
Of all the Picrosses.
Of all the Picrosses in all the world.
And all the gin giants in all the
Yeah.
world. You had to pick Ross into
Everybody knows I love me some puzzle games. I
Yeah,
play the shit out of Picross all the time.
me too.
Like, one of the greatest things about the 3DS is that there's some company that's just putting out Picross games like I don't know, every year, every
I've
6
lost
months or
track.
something.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they're on
Yep.
Picross like E6. And I buy them and I play the shit out of them and then I wait for the next one to come out.
Did you get that Konami Picross game? Where
I
all the answers are like old Konami sprites?
don't know if I have that one.
It's on phones.
There's a
Free.
Pokemon Picross, and then there's a Zelda Picross that they put out like as a
As a
as
bonus.
trade in
a
silver
bonus thing you
coins,
could
yeah.
get. Yeah, exactly.
But this is
stuff
where
like
it all
that.
started.
This is where it all started. I was actually waffling back and forth between this and 3D.
I mean, there's Picross on like Game Boy, but
right,
as far as like touch screen,
touchscreen.
Picross, this
Although
is
ironically,
the
I don't
best.
use the touchscreen.
What?
Nope.
You're a
I
madman.
You
I
are a
never.
madman.
No, I can-
Picross didn't make sense to me until I played it on a touch screen.
I just use the D-pad. Tap 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 tap
Gross.
all the time.
I actually like. Well,
I feel like
do the
Kurt just
So-
revealed to us
hold
that
the
he has some
button
kind of
and then
weird,
you-
like, bathroom fetish that I don't like.
I do.
Uh-huh.
But I'll say I came to this series having already played or done these kinds of things because this was there were puzzles like this back in the old Games magazine, and so there'd be like a giant, a page of whatever, like 40 by 40 or something like that grid that you would fill in like with a pencil. And
They're
so-
called nonograms when they aren't a Picross game, right?
I think that's right. And so once I found out, you can get one of these on a handheld system, I was like, I'm in. So there's
Sure,
not
I want
much
you
to
to
say
The
about
original
it.
was a Game Boy game, right? That's how old the series
Yeah.
is. Is that
Mario
what it
Picross.
goes?
Yeah, Mario Picross. And there are other ones, like there's Japanese ones that are color. There's one called Illust Logic.
Oh yeah, that's right. Lust Logic.
Yeah, which is also really good, but
I never
this
actually
one,
played one of
there's
those.
some purity to this one. I also I think it's this one, and not anyone since then that has like a tryout mode where you can be like, I'm not really sure which way this goes because it's not completely deterministic all the time. And so you can be like, okay, I've locked all these in. I know this is all correct, but maybe this.
You can like fork your
this one's-
puzzle.
Yeah, essentially, and sort of say, okay, hold this, and then I'm gonna try some stuff and see if this works. I'll also say, and this may also make Eric uncomfortable, is generally speaking, I don't even look at the picture until I'm done.
I don't either.
I know some people that like
I try and
try
cheat
and
it.
like look at the picture and try and figure out where things should be. And it's like, no, it's all about
with the math.
mapping it out.
I
Yeah,
know.
with the
I
math.
feel like looking at the picture and trying to cheat it makes you some kind of Picross pervert.
Is this an
it
Apple
does.
level?
It's the double stylusing of
It does look like an
Picross.
It is the double stylus thing.
Yes. Okay.
It's the snaking of Picross.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it's
I would
I'll play
say,
Picross all day.
This is the only game I think I put more time into on this system than Mario Kart.
I just want to say that my mom, who's in her 70s, for years was way into doing Sudoku, and I actually converted her over to the paper version
Oh,
of
good man.
Picross.
Nice.
Nice.
That's good.
Anyway, nothing else to
All
say.
right.
Picross.
That's
It's good.
Picross. That's a good one.
Yep.
All right, Anthony. What you
Shit,
got,
let's
buddy?
talk about Picross.
This is
Well, what's the puzzle going to be? Just let it play while you
all right,
talk.
Yeah, well, Anthony
It's an
takes.
apple.
This is your last pick, by the way.
It does
'cause
look
I
like
get
an
the last
apple, yeah.
pick.
This is my last
Yeah, this
pick,
is your
huh?
last pick.
I am. You're not gonna like this, but I'm gonna go with Dragon Quest 9.
You mean 5? I didn't capture 9 because you said 5 was the one that we should go with.
Then I said,
and then I didn't
I
do
changed my
5
mind
either
after.
because it didn't work. So I ended up putting a picture of 5 and then footage of 4. So you can talk about. Here's
Okay.
the thing.
Watch more
I'm fine.
Picross.
Here's the thing.
No,
Here's the thing
no.
about Dragon Quest on the DS. they're all there, and I played all of them, and they're all just like a big blurry mass of Dragon Quest.
Well, let me,
and I
let
haven't.
me tell you
It's
why I
almost
picked
impossible
9.
for me to determine to like make a distinction between the various Dragon
Let
Quest.
me tell
on
you
DS.
why I picked 9 then.
That's the worst one.
picked-
That's the one I
No, it
remembered
isn't.
liking the least. It's like super. It's like the worst modern Dragon Quest
because
game.
you
It's so
played it
boring.
wrong.
Ugh.
Because Dragon Quest 9 is the only co-op Dragon Quest there is.
If you had somebody near you that would,
And
that
I
you could play
did.
it with,
And it was the
and
best.
I did not, and it wasn't.
We played the like standard like 2 or 3 hours until you can go into somebody else's game,
Mhm.
Yeah,
and then we did not play the game
I just
solo
can't
ever
imagine
again.
playing like an 80-hour JRPG with somebody
It was
else.
so much fun
Ugh.
to play with. Well, I can't imagine. I don't think I
Did you
could
play with
play.
Abby or?
Yep.
Okay.
And I don't
Nice.
think I don't think I could play an 80-hour JRPG like that anymore. But when there's another person sitting there, it was good. And like
I don't know, what does the co-op
It's
even
got-
look like in that game?
you're both there and have the menu option, so you like kind of split what the party does, which makes the battles go a lot faster.
So are you fighting over inputs, or are you each controlling characters, or
You're each controlling characters.
Oh, so it's like Final Fantasy 3. You could play
3
Final
or
Fantasy
6?
3 on the 6. You could play Final Fantasy 6 on the Super Nintendo in co-op mode with 2 controllers.
right?
But when you go back to out of a battle, you don't have a second player moving around,
I suppose.
which this one does. Like you both, it feels like you're exploring a dungeon together, like because it's got a
Means it
deep
accelerates
class-based
a lot of
system.
the.
We just like you pick different classes and like kind of figure out what will work together in tandem. Like
So do you each have a
There's-
party of people, or you each have one?
you each have one person, and then like you can have 4
They're
people in
like
the party. So there's
mooks,
2
yeah.
more mooks. That
Who controls the mooks?
I think whoever the first player is. I don't remember if you split that between you or not, because it's been a
Yeah.
while.
and then you can find treasure maps.
What happens
that
if
was the
you?
other thing is,
But those you could only get online, and those ran out after a while. Do
So
that anymore.
my problem with 9 was just that it lacked a lot of the charm of the Super Famicom, I guess I should say, era of Dragon Quest games. I didn't like the art style as much as this like Dragon Quest 7 style sprites mixed with 3D dungeons. That like I said, started with Dragon Quest
Kinda
7,
plain 3D dungeons.
and yeah, you can like rotate them to look at stuff, but there's not a whole lot going on. But I didn't like the way it looked. I didn't like the tone of it was not as like fun and silly as a lot of the other Dragon Quest games are. But like I said, I remember that one better than I remember 4, 5, and 6, because those are all the same game to me for some weird reason in my head. 5 is the one where he has a cat, right? And
5's the one where you're dad.
which is the one where you're like playing
Aren't
through
you a dad in 3 too?
This is the one.
I
This
don't
is
know,
the
I
one
didn't
with
play
a
that one.
bunch of different characters that you get to play as.
Yeah, you also get to play dress up,
Right.
which is awesome, especially when you're playing a co-op game.
Yeah. I played them all like kind of around the time 6 came out, and like I played them over the course of like a summer. That was all I did in my free time.
How many
was
of
play
them?
Dragon
How many
Quest.
of them were on DS? It was there were remakes of all the
Four,
Super
4,
Nintendo.
5,
4,
and
5,
6 are the
6.
ones that have the remakes. And the,
Right, so
Yeah.
four.
the
So 4 is a
style.
So wait, 4 on the DS is a remake of 4 on the Super Famicom, which is a remake of
Right.
4 on the NES.
Yes.
Is
I
that right?
suppose that's true.
Correct,
Okay.
I think.
And then 5, 6, but they didn't do 7. But 7 was on like
PlayStation.
3DS or something, wasn't it? Well,
7
right,
was on
originally
PlayStation.
PlayStation.
Yeah, I don't know if there
Right,
was a
originally,
7.
and they-
7 is also 7 and 9 are the two worst of the like Super Famicom, PlayStation 2 era Dragon Quest games. Because 7 is
I agree
also
with you about
really
7,
really long,
but I'm not all that
and
opinionated
kinda
on it.
boring.
Like 5 has a good story
Yeah.
because you're a dad and like you raise kids and stuff.
Mhm.
And then, well, like it is, it's like it's legit. Like it's a little more story heavy than I think Dragon Quest tend to be.
Yeah.
And then 9,
No.
like I said, if you play it co-op, is just super fun
Yeah,
throughout.
well, good luck with that.
Like,
7,
that game was designed around that, and that's why I think
I
7
don't think
and
it
8
was
both
designed
got
around
3DS
that. I think it's just a
remakes.
Dragon Quest. It's like a mediocre Dragon Quest game that happens to have co-op in it. I don't know. Is it like designed around co-op because it's more boring, so you get through it faster if you play it co-op? It's not like Resident Evil 5, which is a game which is designed with co-op in mind, or whatever.
Right.
But anyways,
well,
To the detriment of the single player
much,
experience.
Right, yes.
As much, you've caused a rift in our team. Our team.
sorry.
Eric. It's okay.
You're right. I mean, I can't look. I didn't play it co-op, so I don't know.
Well, it's just like all of the whole game revolves around different classes and different outfits and different treasures and maps and stuff, and like you're constantly like coordinating and finding
Spend a lot of
stuff
time
together.
hanging on a tree.
It's good.
Okay. I mean, I like trees,
Anyways.
so.
Yeah. Anyways,
Who doesn't?
I had a fun time with it, and for a game that I played for like 70 hours or however long
Yeah.
this game took.
All right.
But yeah,
Good pick. I
told you you
the
weren't gonna
Dragon,
like this
it's fine.
pick.
No, it's fine. Like I just like for what it like Dragon Quest is like an important DS thing for me. Even though, like I said, I can't distinguish between most of them. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head
remember
what any of them
I
were
think-
about.
Just go back and listen to the podcasts that we recorded back then.
Yeah, maybe.
Because you talked about all of them when we were doing like weekly podcasts. So
All right, we're back to you.
It's you again.
Yeah.
Oh, it's us again. Okay,
yeah.
Your last.
our last
your
pick.
last
Well,
one.
that's an easy pick then. It is, if I can find it on here.
New Super Mario Brothers.
It's Devil Survivor 2, which I'm
Oh, man.
the only person on the face of the earth that has some kind of deep burning love for this game. Even people that like
I forgot that. Yeah, I forgot it was the second one that you liked
Yeah.
because I liked the first one and I was considering picking the first one at some point.
I liked the first one quite a bit.
First one, Strange Journey.
No, the first one is
No,
Devil Survivor.
Devil Survivor 1.
Yeah, Strange Journey is
Oh,
a
okay.
whole different thing. Also, isn't that a 3DS game?
No,
That's-
Strange Journey is
That's
DS.
more of a traditional
Yeah,
dungeon
but
crawler.
Strange Journey was.
Anyway,
But I didn't
I
like
didn't
the
like
Devil
Strange Journey.
Survivor-
Survivor
like it.
series
Me
is the SMT version of Final Fantasy Tactics, basically. It's
Yeah.
it is a tactical RPG where you're fusing demons and making teams of demons. And the first game, I quite like the story and I really like the idea of it, but I like there's 3 basic mission designs. There's like escort missions and like defeat all the guys missions. And that's pretty much it. And so the combat, the battles get really boring, really rote, really fast.
There are also missions where you can only hurt the bad guy by whacking them with a stick that does like 3 damage every turn.
Yeah, it ain't great. I like the mission design in that game is, I don't think it's bad necessarily. It just gets boring pretty quickly, but I kind of pulled my way through it just because I like fusing demons. I like a lot of the standard SMT stuff that you associate with that series. I like fusing demons, and it was kind of fun to have like the way that you make your team is that you have like these characters kind of like in the other SMT games, but then like they have their own stats, and then you pile a team of 3 demons on top of them, and then there's like synergies between the characters and the demons and the demons.
This happened exactly what I wanted.
But anyway, this game, I think it has. I don't think the story is quite as good, although it has a really cool mechanic in the way the plot is presented, because they put this app on your phone, and it shows you your own death, and so you are constantly seeing your own death in the game, and then making choices about whether or not you want to go to the area where your death happened and try and avert it, or try and go someplace else. Because what basically happens is that Tokyo is invaded by demons, and everybody knows about it, and there's a huge panic, and so there's all these different factions sort of like working to get rid of the demons or to work with the demons or whatever. And so you're basically in Tokyo for like 3 days while the apocalypse is happening, and so you're sort of like constantly in this time pressure to choose where you want to go and who you want to hang out with and which groups that you want to associate yourself with. And then you're also at the same time like viewing the horrible, gruesome deaths of you and your friends over and over and over again in all these various scenarios, and then trying to you're making decisions about like where you're going to go and who you're going to talk to based on the way that the deaths appear on your phone. And then on top of that, it just has, I thought it had really excellent combat scenarios. There's like a ton of boss fights, and they all have different weird little, like, different weird mechanics that you have to do to figure out how to actually do damage to them. There's a lot of like stuff on the map where you're like moving from one area to the map to the other to try and like hit switches and stuff. And it just, I think it works really good with the team building stuff from the first Devil Survivor game, where you're still fusing demons and like creating teams of demons that have good synergy and work well with your character. And it just, there's a lot going on. And like I said, this was one of my favorite tactical RPGs, and that's one of my favorite subgenres. So I don't know.
Does it have punching, teleporting?
I would say you can see Io Nito's boobs. Some of the character designs in this game are fucking awful.
From outer space.
She looks like she's falling constantly. She's like, there's a lot of characters that just have like weird grapefruit boobs. I don't know what's up with the character
she has
design.
to lean back like that so she just doesn't fall
I
over.
guess. Yeah, but the way that it's like if she was falling really fast and they were like coming up to hit her in the face or something. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
They're actually lifting her trunk.
Yeah, so
they literally are defying gravity.
Yeah,
right, exactly.
And some of the writing in this game isn't as good as it was in the original one. But anyway, it's a really crazy series that has some really cool mechanics in it that work well with both tactical RPGs and the SMT demon fusing stuff.
Do any of these games have a through line, or is it just like, oh, this is a game, it's a modern setting with demons?
Like some of
so
the
it's a
Persona
Shin Megami
games
Tensei
supposedly
game.
take place in the same universe, and like I think some of the main series SMT games kind of do. I haven't really played a lot of the main series stuff, but like these two games are related only in thematically and mechanically. They aren't like sequels to each other in a plot sense or whatever.
The concepts are very similar from one to the next.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's a good series. It's an interesting take on the SMT stuff and the tactical RPG combat, which I'm always hungry for original takes on that. So that's
you didn't answer me though. Does it have punching, teleporting ninjas?
No, I don't think anything gets quite that crazy with your abilities. It's mostly like core to the SMT combat is like character weaknesses to different elements and things, and so you're trying to like make teams that are balanced so that you can't get knocked down and take a bunch of like basically what happens is if you get hit by a spell that you're weak to or a damage type that you're weak to, then you give the other enemies teams a free attack on you. So like you can stack up to like 9 attacks, I think. So there's like 4 characters in your party and 3 demons and 1 character, and then you can stack attacks by using the using the elements that they're weak to and stuff, and you don't want that to happen to you. So that's the kind of balancing act that you're trying to make with your team. It's also a good crop of demons. Anyway, that's Devil Survivor 2. Like I said, even like when you look at the reviews for this game, they're really low, and it doesn't seem like a lot of people like it as much as I do. So there may be some huge flaws in it that I'm just overlooking, but it's probably enough time has passed where I could go back and play it again. So maybe I'll give it a shot and see what I think. But we should move on to Kurt's final pick.
I just want to say quickly, like, I know that being in the modern world is kind of this whole series' thing,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like the DS, because it was like portable and also 3D, like that, I feel like this is when there suddenly started to be a crop of games that were all kind of set in the real world.
Yeah.
Like The World Ends With You is another one that like it's very like based on its place in a way that I don't think games really were to a large extent before. And I just find that interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah, I get now. Prior to this era, I feel like that was pretty unique. If that happened, it was pretty
Yeah.
unique.
It's like a
There was
different crop of people
setting.
are making these games too, right? Like this is like a generation
Yeah.
that grew up. The people making these games are the people who grew up playing games that were set in traditional fantasy settings and were probably
Right, medieval
to
fantasy.
a certain extent trying to like set themselves apart from that.
Yeah.
Right.
But also like SMT games are like generally a lot of those games are set in more modern or futuristic settings.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyways,
Kurt,
you're up.
Anyways.
No, Kurt.
Anyways,
Oh man.
do select.
Yeah.
Nice one.
I'm in deep suspense.
Weirdly, every time I do it, I'm like this one or this one.
Yep.
I'm gonna go with Cooking Mama,
Good one.
Mm.
only because Fantasy Life is a 3DS game, which is Cooking Mama plus an RPG wrapped around it. So much like
I feel like this is
some of the other
another
things that we've talked about.
one of those like DS like I don't know, I was trying to think like when I think of
Super
DS,
DS specific
yeah, like when I think of DS
experiences, yeah.
experiences, Cooking Mama is
That's
one
part of why I
This is
picked
one
it.
of them.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is it's a game that isn't served well on some.
Ah.
You get it? Yeah.
Yeah.
On a different kind of system until like smartphones and stuff like that came along. But for those that don't know, mini games of cooking as you go along, they get more and more complicated. But effectively, it's tapping and scraping and shifting things around to try and make food in ways that generally kind of make sense.
Yeah.
It's like this dish, you would do these things. Okay, chop this, peel
Get to the
that.
chopper.
Yeah,
Get to the chopper.
get to the chopper,
So-
chopper.
These games, these not just this game in particular, but a lot of these type of games that we've sort of mentioned gave way to like really crappy licensed games. Like there's like a Hell's Kitchen game with like
Yeah,
a bad
right.
Gordon Ramsay 3D. That's
Right.
like basically like off-brand Cooking Mama.
Cooking
you know?
Daddy,
Yeah.
cooking mean daddy.
And Mama also herself became like a franchise. Wasn't there a thing with a baby on the Wii?
Don't
where,
shake the baby.
Yeah.
Cooking baby? Jesus
Yes,
Christ,
you
Joe.
cook the baby. No, it's like it's you play as Mama, but
Bad
you're like
ribs.
babysitting or something.
Yeah.
And there was like wasn't there? It was like a
There's an
peripheral. where you-
infamous giant bomb video where they are
yeah,
shaking
put the remote
baby.
in a doll
Yeah.
or something. Yeah, it's real. I forgot what it was called now, but
Hmm.
anyways.
I believe this is the
Sorry.
baby is still on the UPF set. Anyway, sorry. Yes.
Anyway, yeah. I don't have a ton to say about it.
It's hard to remember at this point in time that there were no touchscreen games for most people before the DS
I
came
was
out.
Right,
actually
yeah.
thinking that when we were talking about
that was
Kurt.
part of what it. Yeah, that's part of what I was saying about picking this was that kind of thing. It's like, aside from
This is
later there would be places you could play this, but at the time you're like, where else would I do this? This is a unique experience to this
Yeah.
thing
before
it's
everybody
pretty
had a
fun.
device in their pocket at all times that
that they could do the
Right.
same thing. Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
And they do a nice job of the puzzles are nice about ramping up as they go in difficulty and making you juggle more and more things, which is what you want in a puzzle game.
I was really struggling to play this with a
Hey
mouse.
Nintendo, if you're listening to this stream,
Also, I'd never played it before.
Kirby Canvas Curse on iPhone.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Also-
Oh my! Yes, it was okay. I'm just saying, I'm vindicated. It was called Babysitting Mama,
Yeah.
and it came with a baby
Yes.
doll that you stuffed the remote into.
Don't shake the baby. Don't shake the
Yeah.
baby. I want to just
Good
say,
lord.
have any of you guys ever fucking peeled a potato after you cooked it by holding it in your hand and peeling it off? Like, what the fuck?
No,
I mean, how else do you
no.
do it?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
you
like,
cook it. You peel
better
it.
way.
You peel it before you cook it, or you just don't peel it after it's
Yeah,
cooked. I mean,
I don't.
honestly.
That's one of the weirdest things.
So
I've
I
ever
will
seen
say
before.
that I had peeled after cooking, but also after cooling.
Okay, but
I
even if it was
guess,
hot and you
I
were
don't
trying to
know.
peel it, you still wouldn't put it in your hand and then rush to
I
do
wouldn't
it.
hold it in
before
my
you-
hand and peel it apart
Yeah,
like
no.
like Mama does.
Once I
But Mama is a
Mama
beast.
is made of sterner
That's
stuff.
fine, fair enough.
That's right. That's how she can have fire in her hands like that.
That's
Yep.
right.
Yeah,
In fact, those
And-
things are directly correlated.
exactly. Anyway, Cooking Mama.
A definitive
She
DS
she
experience.
launched a cottage industry of mama related games after
It's true.
this.
It's
yeah,
true.
she really did.
And
Majesco, well, yeah, but I'm saying like Taito and Majesco and Square Enix or
Gardening
who owns it
Mama.
now, like Gardening Mama, Babysitting Mama. There's 5 Cooking Mama games, 2 Gardening Mama games. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how many Babysitting Mama games there are, but there's at least one.
Mamma mia.
So
And apparently PETA created a Flash game called Cooking Mama. Mama kills animals to
Of course they
criticize the meat-based recipes.
yes, of course they did. I vaguely remember that actually. But yeah, now that I'm thinking
Remember
about it, didn't Trauma Center also get like weird off-brand? Like, wasn't there like a Grey's Anatomy Wii game that was like
They
They might
Trauma
have just.
Center?
I don't know if those
something?
weren't actual Trauma Center things. I don't think they were just rip-offs.
No,
that
I'm not
bore
saying right, but I'm saying the
licenses,
same
right?
way the Cooking
Yeah.
Mama is, the same way the Hell's Kitchen
Yeah.
thing was. Like, it was
Well,
like
again, I
Cooking
mean, the DS was kind of the crucible from which all like mobile games
Yeah.
yeah, kinda.
eventually spawned, right?
Yeah, sort of.
All the stuff that worked on this, then they made cheap rip-off games that they could sell for $2 on the iOS
Or they
store.
just
yeah.
ported these games.
Who did Joe?
Some-
Who did the Walking Dead games? Telltale.
Telltale.
Like those same exact engines that are all the CSI games. Like that's how they stayed afloat for a long time. Was
Yeah, yeah,
we
yeah.
would
But
make
those
this
are actual
crappy adventure
Telltale
game.
games. Yeah,
Yeah, right. Or they like, but once you've played the good ones and you play one of the bad ones, you're like, wow, this is the same.
It's all based
This
on
is
the
weird.
Bone engine. All right.
Yep.
We should move on to Mike's pick.
We should.
Speaking of the Bone
Man.
engine,
Speaking of the
Like-
bone, these drafts are pretty tough, like trying to come up with things that fit with all of our different tastes and trying to have enough games left over that I like. And when I think of it that way, it kind of reminds me of a puzzle.
uh-huh.
So I think I'm going to pick Professor Layton and the Curious
Oh,
Village.
Nice.
I'm glad somebody did.
Objection. No way.
Like Cooking Mama.
feel like it was
and-
that's a
would be-
3DS game, Kurt. That's a
Yeah, yeah.
3DS game.
It feels like this list would be incomplete if it didn't have one of the Professor Layton
Yep.
games on it.
Agreed.
And
And the first one is the
and-
best one. So
Correct. Right.
the first one is kind of the only one you need to play because when you get right down to it, these are basically
They're all the
just
same.
they're basically just
Yeah.
really charming editions of this puzzle book that you bought at the school book fair in like
Exactly.
grade 5.
Yeah.
Um,
Along with a lot of random tapping on the screen.
there's a
to
real
try and
quality
find coins.
name entry in this. In this draft.
JS
just don't.
Yeah, it's funny how they basically just they just took this basic concept and slathered it in enough charm that it became like fun to play on the DS.
I mean, I
and
liked those books as a kid, though. Like, I would get those books from the book fair, which was called Riff, where I went to school. Reading is fundamental.
Reading is fundamental. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I liked those books as a kid, so I gravitated right to this game when
Yeah.
it first came
Well, I
out.
wasn't doing a lot of those books when I was 25, but I was playing Professor Layton.
And the sort of,
Has it been that long?
European animation,
God.
Yeah,
When did
it's
this
very
game
nice
come
to
out?
look at.
Tintin flavored.
It
thing
really reminds me
going
of
on.
the Triplets of Belleville. That's what the.
That's
what it
that's
is.
also good.
Like
Yeah.
I only played the first one and didn't finish it because I kind of got tired of those sort of puzzles.
You got
But
No,
tired,
I mean,
find out
it
that
you
was
got
absolutely
tired of
twist
moving.
ending.
You
Yes,
got tired
right,
of moving
but-
coins from
I
one side
did,
to the other.
but despite that, at one point on the internet, someone said Professor Layton for Smash, and I was still like, yes, that's fucking great. Like, I love the character, even if I don't really want to play any of these games.
Yeah.
So the game, I don't know, like I said, the game's nothing special. It's just fun to solve puzzles, and they just wrapped it up in such a beautiful looking game that's
Super
just so charming.
Yeah.
But I just want to shout out, these games have the most bonkers storylines
Yeah.
out of any video game series that
have
has
heard
ever
They are
existed.
completely insane.
Out of
Yeah.
all the video games I played in my life, none of them are more ridiculous than the Professor Layton stories, where like people are creating whole civilizations just to pull some weird kind of trick over on some small town council or
Like
something.
Did you play the
Unwound
Phoenix
Future-
Wright Professor?
The Unwound Future is just insane.
Did you play the Phoenix Wright Professor Layton crossover?
I did not.
I did. That's the only Professor Layton game that I played to completion, and that's like the village, but also like multiple layers of extra crazy shit piled on top of it.
Yeah,
It's
and also there's a moment in that game where you watch a woman get burned at the stake, and then like 5 minutes later, you're like laughing and eating warm bread. And I was like, what is wrong with you people? You just watched a woman get closed in an Iron Maiden.
Right.
and thrown
Also,
in a
people are
furnace.
traveling across dimensions and time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. There's a magic book that dragged you like
So
Bruce
Joe,
Campbell
this
style
game
into
this
the...
game Wicker Man you.
Yeah, apparently.
Is it the second one that introduces the tea,
tea
making?
leaves.
Yes, that's the
Game.
thing. Is that's why I like the second game. Also,
I was gonna
is
say that is the thing I liked about the second one.
the tea mini game was very good, but the stories get progressively worse as the series goes on, and just
Yeah.
unbelievable, just so
The
bad.
first one was unbelievable. I mean, can we spoil it? This game's 10 years old or whatever at this point.
I don't see why not.
The whole town is robots. That's
What?
the twist. That's the twist.
When
What?
Layton finds that out, does he go through like torturing and murdering them? Fucking
No.
To find out if they have souls.
yeah.
Yeah, he puts them all in the void.
Is
content.
Yul-
Yeah, he
No,
starts.
it's
Does
like-
Yul
He
Brenner
starts
show
killing
up
them
at any
for
point?
making them do his homework.
Is Yul Brenner
Making him
involved?
do their
Please say
armor.
yes.
Oh man, the three little fade-ins as the game decides whether or not you got the puzzle
Yeah,
answer
it's
right.
good.
Oh, so
Oh,
good.
yeah.
That's my
that's a
yeah.
great
That's
moment.
I love that.
It's good.
Like, I remember thinking it was going to be like a Sherlock Holmes thing, where like Holmes, the thing in the classic Holmes stories is that like you're like
Doing
whoever's doing his
cocaine
country
and
seem like yes, that too, but they're trying to make it seem like there's a supernatural thing going on, and then Holmes
Right.
Professor
And
And it
Layton.
really was just those
So
meddling
Scooby-Doo.
kids.
Professor
Right, it
Layton
was-
turns
yeah.
Luke
Right.
into a coke fiend, and
But it's the opposite.
Again.
Right, in this
Yeah.
one, I
Yeah.
was expecting we'd get to the end and like there'd be all this talk of all this weird stuff, and Leighton would be like, "No, there was all perfectly mundane explanation after all." But and it's like, no, he's like, "No, the whole town is robots," and I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Every time the story resolved, it's like a multi-billionaire just undertook one of the greatest public works projects in the history of the world, and no one found out about it.
No one noticed. Yeah, exactly.
They built London underneath London.
It's
Yeah.
like
Scale.
And that's not the weird part. Professor
like
Layton's
Hot
like, well,
Fuzz.
of course. But I found these coins like
I
by
found the
tapping
golden
screen
apple.
all over the place.
and found
Yeah.
the treasure.
It's like Hot Fuzz in that like it seems mundane, but actually
The greater good.
The greater good. Professor Layton and the greater good. I need that game.
Yarp.
All
Yarp.
right, all right, Joe, you got the final pick.
Oh,
Final pick.
Are we doing
I
a lightning
mean,
round?
we
You
can.
can do it fast enough.
It has to be
I'm leaving
extremely
at midnight.
lightning.
You got 6 minutes left.
Boy, Mike is right. There is a thing where now I feel like there's a handful of games that I still really like for the system, and there's sort of and we've touched on some games that are sort of visual novels, and even Professor Layton's got that kind of quality to it, even though it's more of a puzzle game than a visual novel. But
You're gonna say what I think you're gonna say?
yeah, I think I probably am going to say Hotel Dusk.
Yeah, I was actually surprised
Ah,
nobody
good
said that before now.
Me too. That game's good.
Like, yeah, right. It looks like the Take On Me video. It also has kind of a dumb, like, twist at the end. Like, not on a Professor Layton.
The
level,
hotel
but
is run by robots.
Yeah, the hotel is run by no, but it's got a very like you get to the end and it's like this is a pretty wild coincidence that like all of these things just happen to, and all these people happen to be at this hotel who are tied into this particular mystery and this particular crime kind of, but
Because they all lost their memories from using the Guardian Force, Joe.
yeah, right. Well, right, exactly. But I like Sing did a handful of games. I didn't play their first one that people liked, and I don't even remember what it's called now. But they did a more anime.
Is it the Silver
style-
Case? Is that?
No, that's Grasshopper. The Sing game came out. It came out in the U.S. I just can't remember what the hell it
Oh,
was called.
that the anime girl with the white hair.
Yes, that one. That is definitely what I'm thinking of. I cannot
Trace
remember
Memories.
Trace Memories. So apparently people like that. I didn't play it.
Me neither.
But I played this one. I didn't play the sequel to this because the pseudo sequel to this only came out in Europe, and I kept meaning to import it, and I still haven't. I should probably do that at some point because I did really enjoy this game. But you play as a dude named Kyle Hyde, who is he is very classic film noir protagonist, right? Like he used to be a cop, but now he's like basically he's a guy.
Now he's a
who
robot
finds
because he
things
was
for
killed
people.
by a shotgun.
Now he's in a new wave video.
Now he's in a new wave video. Yeah, he's sent to this sort of off the grid hotel outside of like in Southern California, but not in LA. And he's sort of got that like he's not an insurance inspector, but he's got that kind of that which film noir movie is that I'm thinking of where the guy is an insurance claims adjuster.
Double Indemnity? That's a
Double
great
Indemnity.
fucking movie, by
Yeah.
the way.
It's great. It is a great fucking movie.
Maybe the greatest noir movie.
Yeah, I mean, Detour is also really
Third
good.
Man. In
Anyways,
that
Third Man.
Different
Third
podcast.
Man is so good.
Yeah.
But
list. We
mean,
should play. We should play the
Vibe.
Double Indemnity video game and then talk about it, the movie at the same time.
Is there there's a
No,
Double Indemnity
probably not.
video game?
Anyway.
Okay,
For the
I was gonna say
Genesis?
yeah, of course. But as you can see, the art style in this game is really
Double
fun.
platformer.
Indemnity.
This is very much a visual novel in that you and I'm super picky about visual novels. There's about 5 that I've liked in my life, and there's a whole bunch that I bounced off of super hard. But this one just really worked for me. Part of it is it's again very
It
film
really
noir. It
took
takes
on
place
me.
in the 70s. There you go.
You just loved holding your DS sideways.
I liked holding my DS sideways. I played it on vacation. Like this was a very
man.
chill vacation. Like instead of reading a book on this vacation, I played this game on
Honestly,
vacation.
one of us should have picked up the gimmick of only picking sideways DS games. So that would've been
Ninja
really
Gaiden,
good.
Dragon Sword,
Brain Age.
Dusk, and Brain Age.
It could have
yeah.
assembled a pretty decent list that way.
But I mean, I don't. This is one of those games where like I think you kind of have to play it to appreciate what. Like
Yeah.
it's hard to explain. It's just a very good sort of noir visual.
I never
novel,
played it, but I
and
should
had a lot
because
of
I
fun
like
with it.
those sorts of things.
Yep.
Yeah, I think
It's a cool game. It's very slow though.
It is.
It is. It's very deliberately paced, and like I said, I played it on vacation, so that was perfect for me because I would like, I was in Arizona during the winter months in Wisconsin, so like I would just kind of sit out on the patio and just like play this game at dusk. In fact, like
Nice.
In your hotel.
no, at my family's house, but it's close enough. But it just again, it depends on what you're into. If you're not into visual novels and the slow pacing will put you off, maybe don't play it. But since I didn't get Phoenix Wright, this is sort of the next best thing that
I
is
mean,
just
there was
another
other
Ace
Phoenix
Attorney
Wright
game.
games you could have picked.
There were. I thought about picking Apollo Justice, but
Well,
I thought about picking Phoenix Wright
That's the
3.
DS game. You're right.
Phoenix
I forgot
Wright
that was on
3
DS.
is what I would have went with, or even I would take the Miles Edgeworth game over.
I-
Phoenix
I still haven't
Justice.
played the Miles
Apollo
Edgeworth
Justice is
game,
good.
Actually, I like Apollo Justice,
No,
though, but I haven't played Edgeworth.
Neither of those games are very good.
But this game is I felt part of it just as I felt it would be more unique to talk about Hotel Dusk than to talk about Ace
Yeah,
Attorney
that's fine.
again.
That's
even
good.
though I like
Yeah, I
all
agree.
those Ace Attorney games. So yeah, that's
It's good. It's a good list.
it's a very unique, and I don't think it's ever come out on anything else because it uses the DS in such a unique way. So
Does that have the thing where you close the DS?
Yes.
Or
There's a puzzle where you
yes. You have to
flip
like
some
stamp
switches
something
or-
on. I thought it was you had to like there was something in a book and you had to like.
Did you like turn it over or something?
Yeah.
Yeah,
something
no,
like that.
I'm
I
getting
don't
two puzzles
remember.
confused.
Yeah.
There's-
I don't.
but yes, there is one where you have to close the DS to solve the puzzle.
Yeah.
All right, that's a good old game, and it's midnight, so let's get to a lightning round.
Okay,
All right. Are we starting with me then, or are
Yeah,
we
we'll
going
start
back
with
to?
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Just
okay,
name
so
some,
for
name
lightning,
some video games.
Are we?
Do whatever you
are
want, man.
imports-
Yeah, anything you want.
Anything you
It's a
want.
lightning
Um,
round.
Whatever
Ting-
you want.
Okay, I'm gonna get weird with it. Tingle's Balloon Fight.
Oh,
yeah,
Good. Good.
that's a video game that exists.
Excellent pick.
So Tingle's Balloon Fight was a promotional game that you had.
Damn
to
it!
have
I
a
should have
certain
picked that as just
number
the first overall pick.
of. You'd have a certain number of Club Nintendo points in Japan, and then you could send away for it. And I just bought mine on eBay, of course. And mine came with the actual original Club Nintendo outer box. The person kept it, and it was sealed when I got it, and I just ripped it open because I only paid $20 for it. Who cares? But it's dual screen balloon fight, and you play as Tingle, which I don't have any affection for Tingle specifically, but it's dual screen balloon fight, and I love balloon fight. So, yeah,
We're two halves of the same coin.
You don't like Balloon Fight, but you love Tingle? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Okay. Also, the box art is great because it's the Famicom box art for Balloon Fight, but it looks like someone just like taped a picture of Tingle over
Yeah.
the Balloon Fight guy.
It's good.
Like cut out a picture of Tingle and scotch taped it over the box of
That's pretty good.
of Famicom Balloon Fight. It's really good. I like it a lot.
All right, I got a pick.
Okay.
It's going to be a DSiWare game.
Okay.
And it's going to be
Oh.
Pictobits.
Pictobits
That is not
dope.
the one I thought you were going to go
Kurt
for.
and I were just
Pick-
talking about
Pictobits.
Pictobits before we started also.
How is that
Pictobits
different
was
from Picross? Isn't
it's
that
totally different. It's like a falling block puzzle game, basically.
Right. It just looks
and
like
you're
Picross,
trying
kind of.
you're trying to recreate pixel art from original like black box NES games, and it has a completely sick set of NES style remixes of the music from those games, like off the chain. They're so good. And it's incredibly fast paced, and it like single handedly justified the DSi as a system for me.
I
There
never
was
had a
no other good
DSi,
reason to buy
believe it or
one.
not. I skipped
I,
the DSi.
DSi is
So
my
did I.
favorite piece of handheld hardware ever.
It's really
It's
nice.
so nice. The
Really?
matte finish is so nice. The buttons are
Yeah.
really nice. The screen is super sharp, way better than any other DS screens. It's so nice.
I bought one because the shoulder button stopped working on my DS Lite,
Yeah.
which I had bought used from someone. So I was like, well, I guess I have to buy this DSi. And in the end, there was almost no good reason to do that except for
Unless you
Pictobits.
want to pay $5 for flashlight apps and notebook apps. The DSiWare, at the very least, so there's Pictobits, there's that Mario Minis game,
Mighty
and
Flip
Mighty
Champs.
Flip Champs.
Excuse me, Mario Minis.
Mighty Flip Champs got put out on something else. didn't
Yes.
Mighty Flip
It
Champs?
came out on 3DS.
So it's
They did come
those
out
three things, and then the fucking the 6 months of Jeff Gersman reading the horrible
Oh my
the
God.
horrible text, the ad copy for all that stuff, and the weekly emails from Nintendo on the Bombcast until
Okay, are
Ryan
we ready for
Davis kicked him
experiment?
off. Yes.
I just picked up my DSi off the shelf. I have not touched it in probably 5 years. Do you think it's going to power on?
No.
Yes.
Maybe. The thing had nice battery life, but it's been set for a long time.
No, it didn't. It didn't start up. If it was a GBASP, it would have started up.
That's
It might have, yeah.
Guaranteed.
If it was a PSP, it'd have a battery that looked like a puffer fish.
All right, Kurt, you got something?
Again, I'm trying to decide between two things. I'm gonna say I'm gonna
Tell me what the other one
use
is.
the prompting of it showing up on the stream and go with Henry Hatsworth in the Puzzling Adventure, which is just this weird combination of puzzly thing and action adventure platformy thing.
It sounds really cool, but I never tried it.
In which
I
you're-
was. What? I was.
go
Oh
ahead.
no, I did play this. Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
In which you're navigating on the top screen and fighting things, and then when you fight them, they go down to the bottom screen and make like block puzzle things, and they're slowly advancing. And if they get back up to the top, they pop back out, and you have to fight them again. And so you're constantly sort of having to less frantically, but like unto World Ends With You, you're trying to sort of watch both screens at the same time and try and deal with working out what you need to do when, and nobody can see me waving my arms around as I'm trying to
Demonstrating the
move
fracturing
things.
of your
yeah,
brain.
demonstrating the franticness of two different screens. I realized it as I was saying, and I'm like, hold on, no one can see me doing this. As I understand it, this was a game that the developer, I think, worked at like EA or something like that, and was just kind of doing this in his spare time as a thing, and someone saw it, or somehow it was recognized, and they're like, we could put this out.
That's cool.
That's kind of a nice story.
Yeah.
All
right.
All right.
Eric or Anthony?
It also
Eric?
gets hard as balls at the
Yeah.
end.
It does. I didn't
Oh
finish
my
this game.
god,
either.
it gets hard.
Yeah. Anthony, you got anything? If you pick wrong, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna mow you down and pick something better.
Well, we each get a pick. Why don't you go
All
first
right.
this time?
I'm gonna say 999 personless
999.
Yeah.
doors and something.
Hours, all those
It's a
things.
game I always intended to play and never
I
did.
really
Yeah.
like the series.
Same.
I like this game a whole lot. I think the 3DS one is my favorite of the trilogy because of
Agreed.
It does some really fucking bonkers off the wall shit with parallel dimensions and you exploring all these different parallel dimensions and how it ties all the weird stuff that happens in
Are
this
they
game
tied
and the third
together,
game. Yes,
story-wise?
all 3 games are
Yes,
tied
they are.
together.
Yeah, they're good.
They're real good. So this game is it's like a visual novel / puzzle solving game where you like are in first person. You're exploring environments, solving puzzles, and you're trying to escape from. It's like basically like actual escape rooms where you have
Like Saw.
yeah you have like a watch attached to your wrist, and if you try and escape or try and break the rules, then the watch explodes and kills you. And
they're on a sinking ship.
right,
And
there's a ship that's sinking, and you have to work together with all the other people on the ship. And there's a bunch of really good characters. And this also does a thing with alternate dimensions, or like where you play through a scenario, and then when you finish that, like the end of that path, then you can like go back in time and pick a different path with different characters. And so the point of the game is to play through all these different paths all these different times, so you see all the different puzzle boxes, and then at the very end you sort of solve it the proper way and get the good ending. And it's really, I think it's a really good game. There's like a
you can play it now on like the
everything,
iPhone, and they've
yeah.
taken all the puzzles out, so it's
Just
just
a visual novel.
visual novel where it's like, and then we move some boxes around the room, and then
I mean, that's kind of built in the game, right? So if you when you finish the puzzles in the game and then go back through those scenarios, they don't make you solve the puzzles a second time, I don't think.
they don't. I thought they did.
I thought they didn't. Maybe they do. I don't know.
I thought that the first game was really bad about not wasting your time on
Maybe
repeating.
I'm thinking of the 3DS one is but you kind of have to
the
play
second
this
two
one.
are better about
Yeah, you
that.
kind of have to play this one to get to that. It's good anyways. I like all the characters and stuff, but man, that 3DS one is a total mindfuck.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, you keep. I remember you've told me this, and I want to do it, but then you always remind me that you have to play the other
Well,
ones.
just
Try the phone version of this one
run through the
and
phone
see if you
version
care
real
about
fast.
What's the third one called?
Zero Time Dilemma.
That's the third one. Okay.
Third, yeah, but what's
Virtue's
the
Last
Virtue's
Reward.
Last Reward?
Virtue's Last
Awesome
Reward,
rabbit.
yeah.
Awesome evil rabbit. Virtue's last
Yes.
reward. Anyways,
All right,
what do you got, Anthony?
lightning,
Yeah.
Anthony.
All right. There's a bunch of games I want
Just
to
pick
pick
something.
still.
Lightning,
But
zap.
I'll pick Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story.
I didn't capture footage for that. That was one that didn't come up in the email train, and I was kind of somewhat surprised because a lot of people love
I
that
forgot
game.
about it. That game's really good.
Yeah, I tried to play it, and
I like
I
those.
didn't care for it. I thought it was a little too
Those-
hand-holdy or something, but
Yeah,
It
those
is at
games never
first.
really hit with me.
That's the problem with those games is they always take a while to really click.
yeah.
But by the end, you're having crazy dual screen fights, especially in this one because the conceit is like everyone, like the Mushroom Kingdom is shrunken inside Bowser's body,
Mhm.
and so you have like you basically have these like giant kaiju fights on
So-
one screen with Bowser while you're like doing other puzzles and or
Controlling
having
Mario and
battles
Luigi
with
inside.
Mario and Luigi,
Yeah.
It's a sequel
controlling.
to Microsurgeon.
Yes, kind of.
Sequel to
But there's
Inner
stuff
Space.
like you can control
Mario and
Mario
Luigi in
with
Inner
with 2
Space.
buttons, and you control Luigi with the other 2
Yeah.
buttons, and you control Bowser on the top
Right.
screen. And like if you do it right, Bowser's like fire breath has extra power because you've like done stuff on,
Don't you also
inside him on the
control
bottom screen.
Peach at some points as well in that game? Isn't there some scenarios where you're sneaking around in the castle as Peach? I think that's also in that game. There's a lot of stuff going on.
That yeah, there's like, but that was the one that like past a certain point is a little faster than the other ones and is fun, and you're just juggling so many things.
Yeah.
And there's a whole bunch of those games are great if you love the like weird silent Mario and Luigi, but also have like a ton of personality sort of baked in anyways. Like
Don't they speak
they're just
gibberish?
very
Don't they
charming.
speak like weird Italian
They do.
gibberish? Okay.
And nobody else does.
Yeah, it's a great
Is
concept
that
for a
true?
game for sure.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad I picked
It's a
it.
good pick. Anybody else? We're gonna go back around, or are we gonna call it there?
No, I think.
Well, I was gonna suggest very quickly that if any, we didn't talk about a lot of ports. I mean, I guess Ace Attorney technically is, but
Yeah, we
that-
can.
the
We'll
original never
do
came out
like
in the
5
US.
minutes just of general DS stuff, and then I think we'll call it a night.
There's a lot of games that got ported, or
There's
like,
a
like
ton of
Chrono
ports.
Trigger suddenly was available where it really hadn't easily been
There
for
was a
years
time where
before-
the
Decent
Super
format
Nintendo
even.
cartridge was like going for close to $200
Yeah.
before that port came
I
out.
actually, some people talk shit about it, but I actually really like the port of Resident Evil on the DS, which also kind of blew my mind at the time. That was one of the first. I got that and New Super Mario Brothers when I got my DS Lite, and it was kind of mind blowing to me that a PS1 game like fit in this little tiny cartridge, and like that seems weird to say now, but in 2004 or whatever it was, 2005, like that was
Yeah.
like holy shit.
Yeah, the
Like,
DS
they
is
gotta-
like the home for all of the like retranslations and remakes of JRPGs and ports of
Yeah.
like everything from the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, and it was like it was one of those systems that it sold so well
Right.
that developers put all kinds of weird shit on there. Like
I should have.
we
I never
never got
did look
an-
up, but at Alex's suggestion, I wanted to check and see how many Bratz games there were. Or
right, because there were a lot of them, and there was a lot of Imagine
Imagine's
babies,
and-
Imagine horses, Imagine
Yeah.
dogs, Imagine cats, Imagine.
And that's partially also a function of like
Dragons.
the Wii started to gain
Yes.
steam at some point here also.
yes,
So suddenly there's that huge market for people that like didn't know any better or didn't want to play. Like we're drawn in by that kind of stuff, so it sort of like flooded the ecosystem a little bit.
yeah, but it allowed us to get things like Flower, Sun, and Rain, which like
Yep.
was a Goichi Suda game that never came out in America. As a PS1 game, never came out in America, and then it got a DS port that came out in the US for some reason, and it is,
Or like
What-
another Bangayo.
yeah, that was almost
Which
on my
was-
list.
It's like there's only a couple games ahead of it on my list still. I would have
Yeah.
picked that game in a heartbeat.
Yeah, there were some cool. There was a Super Dodgeball, which I guess there was one on GBA as well, but there's just a lot of really weird stuff and a lot of like I said, good ports.
There's a good Kirby port.
Oh yeah, Kirby
Superstar
Superstar,
Ultra.
right? Yeah, Kirby
Yep.
Superstar Ultra. And I guess some people like Yoshi's Island. I don't.
No, that game was boring.
No
yeah,
people like
you
that
guys are
game,
both
Joe.
dumb.
No,
No
no
one
people like that.
Yoshi's Island 2 on
Oh
the
no, I
DS?
thought you were talking about the port, but that was on Game Boy.
Oh no,
Advance.
Yoshi's Island
Yeah.
is one of the greatest games ever made.
Wow, I'm just like
Yoshi's
get too
Island
carried
is
away.
really bad.
Oh, I was talking about Yoshi's Island DS. Wasn't there? I thought it was just Yoshi's Island.
Yes, DS.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
something. Yeah,
Yeah,
It's
it had
not
one cool. It had
the
one
same
cool
game,
thing
right?
where you use the umbrella to fly up high. That was kind of fun, but it wasn't a very good game.
Yeah.
All right, I really got to go. But I
Bratz
just wanna say,
Fashion
since we
Boutique,
al-
Bratz Kids Slumber Party,
since we
Bratz
always
Girls
do
Really
this,
Rock,
if I had to
Bratz
pick
Ponies,
somebody else's list,
Bratz
I
Ponies
would pick the one that
2,
had Ghost Trick on it.
Bratz Babies,
Yeah.
Bratz the movie,
Actually,
Bratz
Eric,
for
can you
real.
Eric, can you put the list back up?
Maybe.
Take a Bratz break.
Yeah, take a breath from Bratz.
I want Maya Anthony's
if
list.
That's the
So you have to
first
ask.
you do.
You
It's
have to
your
choose
like
list.
somebody else's list as another option.
Except,
Because I would take my list too.
except I don't want Dragon Quest IX. I want to sub in any of the
I-
other Dragon
I-
Quest games.
The poison pill.
Yeah.
I think I would.
I would
say-
take Kurt's if not ours.
I would take Eric's. Eric and
Joe's
Anthony's.
Joe's is pretty good actually.
I would take Eric and Anthony's because it's got Ghost Trick and Rhythm Heaven and Kirby, and I probably could learn to like the last two games.
I'm
It's
taking
got those
Mike
first three
because he's
are-
got Phoenix Wright and Entry and Odyssey.
Yeah, Mike is
And
also
Meteos.
pretty good. Mike's got Phoenix Wright and Professor Layton.
And Professor
Trauma
Layton,
Center.
yeah.
I'm looking at
All these lists are
These are
good
good.
because
You
Kurt's
know
got
what?
Elite Beat Agents and Dragon Quest.
I came
Rocket
I came into
Time.
this whole thing kind of
And
poo pooing
Picross.
the DS a little bit, but I take it back. It's pretty good.
Dude,
I
the
told
DS
you
is
you
the
were
best
dumb.
portable system that's ever been made.
Game Boy Advance.
I'm not saying it ain't
You wanna say
close.
Game Boy Advance. I really got a soft
The problem
spot.
is the
Oh,
Game Boy
we should
Advance
say-
hardware sucks shit, but the
Yeah.
list of
Yeah,
games
that
is
is true.
fucking incredible.
The games is
EVA
great,
has
yeah.
some really amazing games, but I don't feel like it has the breadth.
We didn't say this up front, but
Lot
the reason
of-
we're
lot of
doing
puzzle
this is
games,
because our
lot of
top
RPGs.
extra life donor from
Yeah.
February requested that this was the system we do a draft.
Thanks,
for,
Tony.
so-
well, good on him because
Thanks.
this
Her.
is a great system.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah.
Yes, thanks, Tony.
All right. I'm gonna really go.
All right, thanks, Mike.
Bye.
Good night.
Yeah,
Bye, Mike.
thanks everybody for hanging out,
Are we-
watching.
are we
So
Um,
I'm going to take Eric and Anthony's list, by the way. I didn't get,
Oh, yes.
get my pick in. Yeah. But yeah, I agree. I would actually I was looking at them going, I'm not actually sure.
Pretty good.
There's a bunch. There's good stuff on all of them.
All these lists have good stuff and at least 1 or 2 games that I'm kind of like, eh.
Yeah,
So-
exactly.
Right.
And that's
Yep.
but that's the
That's the DS in the nutshell.
Except for my own,
Yeah.
obviously. But like,
Yeah.
actually, and
That's
also I'm really
5 and-
surprised. I'm surprised that I got like that's, except for Phoenix Wright, that's probably my top 5 DS games. This seems to happen with me because my tastes seem to run contrary to you guys at least a little bit. But you know, that's like if I could sub out Phoenix Wright 1 for Hotel Dusk, that would be probably my actual top 5 favorite DS games.
Nice.
So, although also like the other Castlevanias, especially Order of Ecclesia, not so much Portrait of Ruin is good.
I mean, I want to say like this was the first portable Animal Crossing, and that ate up an ungodly amount of
Actually, a
hours.
bunch of my waffling at
Kind of
various
surprised
points
nobody
was
picked
because
Animal
I
Crossing.
kept thinking about picking Animal
Thank God you said
Crossing.
Animal
Yeah, me
Crossing,
too.
because now I can play the video I made. And
You're welcome.
And I kept going.
I'm really excited to see where this.
I
this
played a
video
ton
goes.
of that. I've played a ton of that. But I preferred the GameCube one.
Yeah, I
hate
did
Animal
too.
Crossing.
But it's still really
yeah,
good.
Animal Crossing
it
does
is.
nothing for me.
And
I-
I
yeah,
want to
not at all.
say like I
That's
really
part
like,
of why I didn't pick it. I put a ton of time into it, but I'm still like, it's fine. Like I had fun with it.
I think it's worth saying because it was so big that I really liked New Super Mario Brothers when it came out, and then
Yeah,
I really
same.
soured on it because I was like, wow, this like is boring, and then I like
It is.
somehow unsoured on it. That's actually a pretty decent game. Buttery.
Buttery.
Assault and buttery.
Buttery is salt and buttery.
No,
Yeah.
Anthony, I agree with you.
salt and buttery. That's what I mean.
So Mario games are usually what gets me to buy a Nintendo system. So like,
Yep.
I got my
Right.
DS Lite when New Super Mario Brothers came out,
Yeah.
and my God,
Buttery Uranus. Yeah, buttery from Uranus. Excuse me.
so
I
got
What
my-
are you planning on doing out in Uranus? He says.
Butt out.
butt out.
Jesus.
So yeah, I got my DS Lite when New Super Mario Brothers came out.
So
I
what
got
is it
my
about old
3DS
Uranus that
when
convinced you to move? Anyway, sorry.
the museum, obviously, the Museum of Uranus.
The border. The border.
um,
Anyways,
but so I bought my DS Lite because New Super Mario Brothers, and I think people are down on it, and I understand a lot of the reasons, and I actually think that it's probably the weakest of the New Super Mario Brothers games.
It's the
is
weakest.
first one.
It's the weakest in a
still-
franchise that is the weakest in the Mario franchise.
Mm.
It's just
Yeah,
like
that's-
it's like the most boring Mario game that ever existed.
yeah, they
I mean,
like.
I
wanted
assume
to
we're not
get back
including
to
shit like
basics.
Mario is missing and
I
Mario's
mean,
Time
those aren't
Machine
made by Nintendo, but
assessment.
Yeah.
You know, Hotel Mario.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but I think for what it was at the time, it was. I have not
I
revisited.
never
it.
finished it. I was really excited
and-
to play it because everybody was really excited about it, and then I played it as like, this is like Mario 1. Where's like my cool ass cape or my raccoon tail or
Yeah.
my frog
Karuma's
suit?
shoe.
Yeah, New Super Mario Brothers Wii and New Super Mario
Well,
Brothers
this
U
is
both
Uranus's town hall.
did. Jesus.
So it was.
New
I
Super
like.
Mario Brothers Wii and New Super Mario Brothers U both did a lot more. Although I don't
Did that.
like New Super Mario Brothers 2 either.
No, I don't like
actually
any of the
that
new Super Mario
No.
games. They added that's
I had-
franchise that added the wah to the music, and it's where everything
So
went
the
wrong.
wah. I was about to bring up the wah
Uh-huh.
because I
one.
was.
Wow.
I had this. I played it and then I kind of soured on it, and then I ended up buying the one on Wii because I heard the music from it and started whistling along with it and was like, "Oh man, this song's great!" And I was in such a good mood. I was like, "Maybe I was wrong about this series." And then I bought the Wii one, which was pretty good.
Yeah. Supposedly
And
that
I
Wii
like
U
it.
one is really good.
The
We
Wii U
played
one's
some of
really
it
good.
during.
We
Yeah, we
played
played the first
yeah, but it's
two
kind of hard
worlds of
to
it, and-
get a deep appreciation for Mario level design playing co-op like that. But
at the
Yes.
end.
I will.
Right,
The
yep.
one thing I will say about New Super Mario Brothers that it adds a wall jump, which is a huge game changer
It's so
for
much
a 2D Mario game, or at
Yep.
least it should be. But I just felt like they never really
I like the propeller hat too.
did
hat.
anything interesting with the wall jumping in that game. But anyways,
Which is part of the reason I've been having so much fun with
this is the
well,
only
I guess now Mario Maker 2,
yeah.
but Mario Maker because people are doing all kinds of
With
crazy
the
shit
wall
with the wall
jumps,
jumping.
yeah, for sure. The other thing I think that it might be worth mentioning is like, this is like the weakest, like on every other Nintendo system that we've ever done a draft for. There's always a Mario, a Zelda, and a Metroid,
Zelda.
Right.
and there's
Yeah.
none
Oh,
of
man.
those franchises were picked on any of our
Well,
lists.
Metroid didn't have a.
Well, there is
Metroid
a
showing at
Metroid
all on the
game.
There was no-
DS.
Metroid Prime 3,
Not a real one.
right?
Oh man, I didn't
Or
I
no,
didn't
not
really want
Metroid
to
Prime
end
3.
this.
Well, no,
Metroid,
Metroid-
that's on
there
3DS.
was-
It's
There was pinball and there was
Hunters. That's it.
Yes,
Yeah.
and neither are that good.
Yeah.
I didn't want to end this shitting on the DS, but
The
man,
Zelda games are also huge.
The
the
Zelda
Zelda
games are
games,
not
I've
great.
never
Not
been.
good.
Zelda's my favorite series. I've never been bored in a Zelda game,
Except
except fucking
It's
Phantom
okay.
Hourglass.
You know what? We got Ghost Trick
Jesus.
and Elite Beat Agents and
Yeah.
ports of all those Dragon
also-
Quest games and the Phoenix Wright games that we never
the
got
other-
to play. So
The other good thing was that there were 2 Advance Wars games that are really good. on
and
the
Devil
system.
Survivor 2.
And I guess that's there.
Yeah, I'm surprised that nobody picked Advance Wars.
This
Oh,
is the worst
I like
Advance
Recall.
Wars game.
That's
well,
why I
there's
didn't
2
pick
of them on the
because
system.
I really wanted GBA Advance Wars is what I
Yeah.
want.
Well,
And I
Advance
still don't-
Wars 2
I still
on the
keep not
GBA is
getting
the
it.
best one. Advance
Yeah.
Wars, but Advance Wars Dual Strike is the second best one.
Mm,
Mm,
Hot take for you right
I
there.
don't really care for it that much, but anyways.
me
I
neither.
like it a lot.
Anyways,
I don't. I think the legacy of the DS, aside from
it
making
ruined
Nintendo a
everything
whole bunch of
by
money-
inspiring all the shit ass mobile games that exist.
Well, that's one takeaway. I don't think that's wrong necessarily,
it's
but
wrong
that's
either.
not where I was going.
Tango.
I was going to say that I think, in a lot of ways, this system sort of brought back a lot of weirder, more offbeat.
Yeah.
Like there was
Yes.
like
Weird
the
stories,
mainstream
weird
home
gameplay.
consoles of this era were very into like very quote realistic. Everything was brown and gray.
Mhm.
Everything was in 3D.
Yes.
Right.
You know, and the DS and to a lesser extent the PSP, but like the DS and the GBA really
Hey, man.
like kept
PSP's got
Man,
Loco
Joe, I was
Roco.
gonna,
alive. You know,
I was gonna say, I was thinking about the DS like more broadly, and like that feeling is exactly what I think of when I think about the
Yeah.
DS.
It
I
is
also
really
think, like-
important to put it in context of that era.
And like Katamari came out around the same time,
Mhm.
and I also think of that as serving the same purpose as like it was like a shining ray of joy in a period that had a lot of gray.
Yeah, early 360 and
ultra
PlayStation
serious-
3.
yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely the place that you went to get some refreshing, some fun puns or some fucking color in your video
color.
Stuff
games.
as many things into a canon.
Like,
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
yeah. Everything goes in the fucking canon. I told you.
right.
I am actually one of my favorite things is putting your friends in the cannon and they get shot over and then they come back. They walk back.
Well, don't
They
they?
do.
If you
It's
shoot
true,
your
I forgot
friends
about that.
over, don't they sabotage the other
They-
enemy
they
tanks?
Yeah, they
fight.
sabotage.
Yeah.
They fight and they sabotage
man.
the
Yeah, and then they come
Um,
back. Yeah, so it was
but-
always like shoot, chuck a couple people in there to cause some mayhem. Shoot.
and
Yeah.
by people you mean like very colorful looking slime creatures.
That's what I
All
mean.
of your buddies
Yep.
from
They're
the
people.
town.
Claddy punks.
Don't
I think you
be
get
so
Slime for people
slimist.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. But
Anyway,
yeah, I'm putting the finishing touches on a video about Bionic Commando right now, and I played a lot of Bionic Commando of the early 2D Bionic Commandos, and then I spent about 2 hours with the 2009 Bionic Commando, and it was just a reminder of like this
Of
is
that
what
era.
in that era, this is what
Yep.
Capcom thought was like the good thing to do with Bionic Commando, was to make like an M-rated, like
Yep.
very
Grim and gritty.
third-person shootery. Mike Patton swears a lot as Captain Spencer, like he's
Look, man.
like,
Yeah.
"Fuck you, Super Joe," and like
On the other hand,
I'm like,
Mike
what
Patton was in
the-
the darkness, which is a weird and kind of fun
Yeah.
game.
Oh, yeah.
on the other hand, as part of that, we also got the 2D Bionic
We got
Commando.
Bionic Commander
Yeah.
Rearmed, which I also will, which I do talk about in
Right.
that
Well, that's-
video.
And to tie it back to the draft,
Uh-huh.
the guy that does the Phoenix Wright Objection
Yeah.
Yeah, Ben Judd,
is the producer on the
producer
Oh,
of
on the
really?
Bionic Commando
Bionic
games. Yeah,
Commando. Yeah.
Huh.
All right.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that we feel like we need to mention about the DS?
Yeah, I want to ask Kurt a question.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
How do you feel about Picross 3D?
I like Picross 3D.
Okay.
It's not as much.
How do you feel about 3D Picross?
Um,
Yeah.
3DS style.
Are there pornographic Picross
I'm
games? I think there
sure
must
that
be.
there
Prop-
are.
there must be, but I've never seen one.
Like, what's the one that?
Hold on
like,
a second.
oh, Kicks. There's like a million different pornographic versions of Kicks.
Well, those were in
right?
bars, right? Weren't
Like
there?
Gals Panic.
Serial?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Gals
Anything
Panic,
else
I
about
think they were called.
the DS? Or should
Taito
we wrap
series.
this up?
I think we can wrap it
Okay.
up. It was good.
It's,
It's a
it's
very
a very
good.
good
It
system.
is.
It's a
It's
very
a fun
good
thing.
system.
Ghost Trick.
And it's
God damn it.
Ghost
Yeah.
Trick.
Fucking love
Ghost
Put
Ghost
Trick.
Ghost Trick on something I can play now, like the Switch.
It's on phones. So you can play it. You can get it on phones.
it's on mobile
Oh,
phones.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, then put Kirby
And
Game
it's like cheap, I think, on your phone as well.
Yeah, I don't think.
and give me more Elite Beat Agents, for the love of God.
Yeah, that's what I want.
You need more
Devil
Sum
Survivor
41
3.
and, Avril Lavigne songs.
Make it
to-
happen. That's all right. I got Tokyo Mirage Session to play. Anyways, that's the
gotta
Nintendo
play that.
DS.
Mm.
It's very
It's
good.
wonderful.
It's good.
I'm glad you kind of changed your tune
Yeah.
as we talked about it. That
Me too.
I don't know. I still think it maybe is the weakest of the systems that we did this for, but
that might be
I-
true, but
I
we've
don't-
also
yeah, I
we
don't-
started
I-
with the really heavy hitters.
it's like,
you
well,
know,
the thing is,
kinda
it's
early
like
on.
there's a lot of really cool, weird stuff on the DS, but there's not a lot of stuff that I think of as like being all-time great
Like
video
classic
games.
all-time
There's no like
games
Super
kind of thing.
Mario World or Link to the Past or fucking
Gunstar
Metal Gear
Heroes,
Solid,
Streets of
or,
Rage 2,
yeah, Contra,
Metal Gear
Yeah.
Solid.
Yeah. Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. There's not a lot of
I think that dovetails though
Game
with what
changers.
Anthony was talking about though, where it was an antidote. It was a
yeah.
Yeah,
it was
it really
you know,
was.
You had a 360 and a DS so that you
Yeah,
could
I
also
would have.
do
I
other
feel like
stuff.
I would have hated video games if I didn't have this
Right.
escape also.
Well, there was that.
We
There
didn't-
was
one
also
thing
the
we didn't
era
talk
of the
about-
weird,
But I wouldn't
indie-
have been able
like
to
the
only
early
have this.
weird indie
Yes,
games
exactly.
also, which was the other font
Yeah.
of like if you wanted stuff that was like totally retro and like favored like a thematic mechanical connection over all other
Yeah,
things.
I feel like
that
a
was
lot of
that
that
era.
stuff didn't really hit its stride until it was towards the end of the DS and the beginning.
No,
of the
well, I'm saying
3DS,
that's like I'm talking about like
yeah.
early indie stuff on PC was where you went to find like that was
Oh,
where all
sure.
the really weird outsider art stuff was, which was the other side of
Right.
that.
right.
But anyways,
But there are a handful of games. I was just thinking about Batman: The Brave and the Bold, which there are some games that have DS and Wii interactivity. So like in Batman: The Brave and the Bold, if you have the DS version and the Wii version,
Yep.
you can play co-op on the Wii version, and then a third player can use the DS to play as Batmite. And like
I did
basically
not know
cheat
that.
for you.
I have both of those games, but I did not know that part.
Oh yeah, no, you should definitely try it. Like the next time we hang out or whatever, we should try that because you can link them together, and the person using the DS can put Batmite on the screen and do like weird stuff in the game while the two players are playing the sort of standard beat 'em up game. It's really weird. And there's other games that do stuff like that that let you link the DS to a Wii game and do quirky, weird, fun, interesting stuff.
Oh man, I forgot about this Tetris.
yeah, this Tetris game is
We
great.
mentioned
I
it.
forgot what it
We
looked
mentioned it when Mike picked.
Yeah, we did mention it, but I'd
Meteos.
forgotten the like Nintendo
Yeah, the Nintendo hooks.
stuff.
Mhm.
It also has
Wow.
it
That's
has
why
this
it's-
multiplayer mode in it that I play here a little bit later if I can find it, where you're like playing against another player and trying to push them back. Where is that?
Okay.
Push him back.
I thought that was this
way
Tetris
back.
game, isn't it? This Tetris game.
This Tetris game has a lot of modes, a whole bunch of
I can't
modes.
find it
in
now.
this.
But there's
Is
there's
it
like
as
a
bad
it's
as-
like a multiplayer mode where like you're playing Tetris on the same board and like smashing into each other. Oh, here it is, right here. It's this Donkey Kong thing.
Is it the Donkey Kong
Yeah,
one?
it's a Donkey Kong
Yeah.
one. So like there's this little thing and then
Right,
two people are
yeah.
playing into the same board and you're trying to complete lines faster than the other one, and then as you complete lines you like push their board down
Oh,
or
it
they push
moves
your
their
board up.
stuff
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
That is,
I'll
It's-
push it up.
that's
It's
weird.
fucking wild. It's really
That's
good.
awesome.
Yeah. So you're like trying to make plays that benefit you without helping your opponent. Anyways,
Does it give you bullshit like bonus points for T spins?
I have no idea. I don't remember. I don't T-spin.
Me
I'm not
neither.
that kind of
That's
a
why I
person.
asked.
Yeah.
Me neither.
Yeah, because you're not up.
All right. I think that's it. Thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
that's it.
DS is good.
Thanks, everybody.
As it
Thanks.
turns
Thank you.
out,
Thanks.
you can have
Nintendo.
fun playing
Yeah.
video games on your Nintendo DS.
Mhm.
That's our conclusion.
It's a very important conclusion.
Yep.
Video games are fun.
We did it,
I
guys.
have
Good
heard
job. All right. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
All right.